Everyone, welcome. We have a full house tonight. We appreciate you all being here. It is Monday, April 25th, 2022, and we are in the Joe N. Idolette Jr. Teacher Education Center. And I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:30. At this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Kristen Maddox for special awards and presentations.
Can't tell when it's not on. So these are some students that have achieved remarkable things at their schools, and we're so proud to recognize them with their families, and some of them have nominated a teacher to recognize. So let's get started. First we have Hamad Hussein. Hamad is a brilliant student and has taken rigorous academics at Vero Beach High School, maintaining a 4.5 weighted GPA, and has earned a full ride to Princeton through Quest Bridge. Having moved to the United States at the age of 5, Hamad is a first-generation college-bound student. Whew, that is awesome. And is the oldest of 7. Hamad is the president of the Gay Straight Alliance, vice president of the Mental Health Club, and on the leadership committee for the Environmental Committee. Next we have Shamaya Bass. Shamaya Bass is an amazing young woman who works very hard both in school and out. She has earned her associate's degree from Indian State College, an active member of the school's Junior Air Force ROTC program, completed the private pilot ground school, earned a certification in phlebotomy courses through the Treasure Coast Technical College, and even finds time to give back to her community by volunteering at the Treasure Coast Food Bank, St. Helens, and New Hope Ministries. She also works at Chronic Taco for over 30 hours a week. Next, we have Kadrian Phillips. Kadrian is a dedicated and devoted student. She is a member of the National Honor Society, participates in the TRIO Upward Bound program at Indian State College, and has earned her Nurse's Aid certification. She is also involved in numerous extracurricular activities, including being an active member of the Club Hope, a member of the Purpose-Driven Youth Club, a candy striper for the local hospital, volunteered for the Life Family Worship Center, and supported the Community United IRC Juneteenth Day of Celebration. Kadrian also works as an associate at a senior living home. Alir Gwynn could not be here with us tonight, so we have Montserrat Marquez. Montserrat is a very responsible and independent student. She has successfully juggled caring for her younger twin sisters, I think they're with you, there they are, volunteering around the community, being active in numerous Vero Beach High School clubs, maintaining employment, and taking an extremely rigorous course load. Montserrat has taken numerous AP courses, has 45 hours earned in dual enrollment, and has taken and gained her certification in phlebotomy from Treasure Coast Technical College. Tanasia Connerly cannot be here tonight, so we welcome Chad Taylor. Chad Taylor is an exceptional young man and a notable contributor to Vero Beach High School, earning the Tribe Pride Award. Chad has participated in the JROTC program, served as the president of Keystone Club, and enjoys serving his community with the Boys and Girls Club. And in partnership with Wreaths Across America, he helped place American flags and wreaths at the grave sites of some of our local veterans who have sacrificed their lives for our country. He is planning on going to college where he will major in engineering. Brinson is not able to be here tonight, but we have Reginald Ferguson III. Reginald is focused, respectable, understands self-discipline, and has shown that he is accepting and tolerant of others' differences. Having overcome great obstacles, Reginald has been committed to doing his absolute best in all endeavors, choosing to take a rigorous curriculum upon entering high school, earning a 3.79 weighted GPA, earning the honors designation. Reginald also participates on the Vero Beach High School varsity football team, assisting with Vero Beach High School-led fundraising efforts, and working as a volunteer with the ARC for the last several years. And I'm sure that all the Reginalds before him are super proud. So congratulations. Next, we have Austin Kupfer. Austin is not one to back down from a challenge, either academic or personal. He puts his best foot forward in all that he does, finishes what he starts, and isn't afraid of a challenge, nor lets adversity get him down. His day begins at 4:30 a.m. with time in the gym, schoolwork, homework, and then the gym again. This hard work has paid off, as Austin's weighted GPA is a 4.3, and he is also a formidable boxer. Okay, everyone, in front of you, you have your academic signing day contract, if you will.
Kristen. A lyric is here.
Lyric, where's Lyric?
Right there.
She just got it.
Oh, Lyric's here. Okay, come on up, Lyric. We're so happy to have you. A Lyric Win embodies excellence, integrity, compassion, and a strong work ethic. As a National Honor Society recipient, she manages to maintain stellar grades while working 2 part-time positions as an extended day student worker and a babysitter. Lyric was recently presented with the Tribe Pride Award at Vero Beach High School. Additionally, Lyric is involved in the Trio Upward Bound Club, Boys and Girls Club, and the Purpose-Driven Youth. As a member of the Precious Pearls Junior Sorority Youth Group, she has helped organize community service projects such as Habitat for Humanity, Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, and Adopt a Road. She aspires to work in the medical field and just completed the CNA program through Treasure Coast Technical College. Congratulations.
So quickly before these students and then our next group of students sign, what they're signing is their intent to move on to the next level, the post-secondary experience. And I would hope, as we all have the opportunity to watch them come across the stage and hear their accolades and their achievements and the hard work, that each and every single one of you serve as an inspiration to all who had the opportunity to hear you, as I have the opportunity to listen to what was said, your experiences, your stories, truly inspiring, truly motivating. Continue to do the work to ensure every single school, every single student has the opportunity to come and sit at this stage and sign their intent to go on and put their education to great use. So as you sign, you are reflective of the great things, the great students that is the school district of Indian River School District. So thank you, congratulations, and sign your lives away.
All right, board members, if you would please join us in front of the dais so we can get a group photo. Dr. Moore?
I'll get him. Oh, Brian's there, okay.
Congratulations. 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 Okay. Board members, if you'd please have a seat. We are moving on to Sebastian River High School and their academic all-stars. Everyone, if you could please exit quietly if you're leaving right now so we could start with Sebastian River High School. Thank you. First, we have Anastasia Ruiz. Anastasia will be attending the University of Central Florida next year. During her time at Sebastian River High School, she has earned her certified nursing assistant license, team captain of the rowing team, and is a member of the National Technical Honor Society. She is also very active in our community. Emily Valentino. Emily is a full-time dual enrollment student at Indian River State College. Next year, she will complete her AA at Indian River State College. For the past 4 years, she has been a member of the Sebastian River High School Band, on the leadership team for the clarinet section, and maintains excellent grades while juggling 2 jobs. Tasia Tumblin. Tasia will be enrolling in Miami-Dade College to obtain her Dental Hygiene Associate in Science degree. At Sebastian River High School, Tasia has been active in weightlifting, softball, and track. In addition to her extracurriculars, she has challenged herself by taking multiple advanced placement and dual enrollment courses. Emily Vasquez. Emily has earned a scholarship to attend the University of Miami to pursue a degree in microbiology and immunology and public health. Having grown up in Japan, Emily has been exposed to a blend of cultures. She was a participant in the 2018 Far East Language Exchange Program in South Korea. She's played the violin for 4 years and volunteered for organizations such as Red Cross, Brevard Zoo, and the Okinawa Trap Neuter Release Program. Maria cannot be here with us tonight, but we have Sarah Schrout. Sarah moved from Pennsylvania in 10th grade to live with her grandparents. She's an IB diploma candidate and has flourished academically. She has overcome a great deal and has flourished to achieve great success. She plans on attending UCF in the fall. Next, we have Jaden Hughes. Seems like some of you know him. Jaden is an IB diploma candidate and has been accepted to Duke University, UF, FSU, UCF, Miami, and North Florida, but plans on attending the best college, the University of Florida. And he will be majoring in pre-med or biotechnology. Jaden credits Sebastian River High School CTE program for shaping this decision. Jaden is also the first African-American valedictorian in the history of Sebastian River High School. Amidst all the activities and studying as an IB diploma candidate, Jason also held a part-time job with Publix. Jaden. The amount of times that I've said your name, I don't know where Jason came from. And also, you have the highest managerial position the youngest person to have the highest managerial position at Publix, correct? There we go. See, I know. Next we have, Abigail is not here with us tonight. We have Andrew Pop. Andrew has overcome great odds to be here. Sebastian River High School noted a fantastic change in this young man and wanted to honor him for his perseverance. Living on his own for the past couple of years, Andrew has maintained his academics while working a job to support himself. And last but not least, we have Christopher Lang. Christopher currently has 5 ASE certifications and is his first year in automotive. His goal, oh, well, I'm 8th year in automotive. Noted, okay. Okay. He currently has 8 ASE certifications and it's his first year in automotive. Okay. His goal is to earn all 9 certifications. The only thing that may keep him from earning all 9 is the amount of time left in this school year. Congratulations, Christopher.
And board members, would you join us up here before our sharks sign off their lives away too? All you need, open your certificates, and on the count of 3, sign away. And let's give them one more round of applause for their outstanding.
Okay, everyone, congratulations. You may stand up, and if everyone will come off this way and exit out this door, we would appreciate it. Congratulations.
Congratulations, enjoy dinner.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. We are recognizing another academic scholar, actually, who we've already recognized, the famous Jaden Hughes. And the reason that we are recognizing him, I'm sure that most of us are aware. We've seen him on the news lately. We've heard about him nonstop. He's very, very special. He is the first African-American valedictorian for Sebastian River High School in Sebastian River High School history. So congratulations, Jaden. And before we continue, Doc, you had a few things to read, correct?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to read a letter from Joe N. Idlett Jr. He is a former Indian River County School Board member and chairperson, and you are in the room that is named after him. Hi, Jaden. What a huge accomplishment to be the first African-American valedictorian of Sebastian River High School. I saw you featured on the news and just wanted to take a moment to congratulate you on your academic success. Your hard work has certainly paid off, and you deserve to be celebrated. I would love to attend the reception to meet you and congratulate you personally. However, health concerns prevent me from doing so. I would like to encourage you to continue to strive for excellence. The sky is the limit. Continue to persevere. Looking forward to hearing more great news of your future success. Blessings to you, Joe N. Idelette Jr. Thank you.
So over the past couple of weeks, we've been working with everyone at Sebastian River High School to put together a special student spotlight video for Jaden. So here it is.
Hi, my name is Jaden Hughes, and I am the class of 2022 valedictorian at Sebastian River High School. I started my journey in Indian River County at Liberty Magnet Elementary School, and then I attended Storm Grove Middle School, and then finally I came here to Sebastian River High School, where I started in the pre-IB program, and then I eventually went to the diploma program in my last 2 years of my high school career. It was a very long journey for me personally and in my academic career. When I first came here, I didn't really know that many people, and I was a little bit isolated, I felt, in the school climate, but as I grew through the program and with the help of my peers around me, I formed better and deeper connections with my peers, and then in my academics, I truly took them to heart and strived for my journey to become valedictorian once I found out from Mr. Surgeon that it could be a real possibility.
He's the perfect student. He's one of those students that teachers dream of having. First of all, he's very bright, he's articulate, he's hardworking, but he's also very helpful. He's not one of those kids who, like, I know something, so I'm not going to share with you. He's one of those kids who is willing to help others. And I think that's what makes him very popular, not only among the kids that are in the IB program, but also with the kids that are, around the school, is that he's just one of those kids that you can go to and that he's always going to be there to help you.
Jaden is a wonderful student. If I really had to describe him, he'd be self-determined, motivated, responsible, polite kid. Whenever you see Jaden, you always see a student with a smile on his face. Just a great all-around kid, great to be around, someone who is really admired amongst his peers.
One of Jaden's most significant accomplishments is becoming the first African-American valedictorian in Sebastian River High School history.
For me, this accomplishment has been truly life-changing and has shown me that through a personal journey that my abilities have become fruitful and that they have produced something where for the longest time I always worry about if I'm trying too hard or if any of my accomplishments will actually amount to something, but this accomplishment has shown me that anything is possible and that my own drive can put me to places where I want to be in life. And it also has been something that I have proven to my family, and it also shows that their hard work and their sacrifices, their efforts and their adversities have amounted to something in me where I can truly represent them and honor them and all that they've done for me.
I think for any student, reaching the level of valedictorian is a tremendous accomplishment, but to be the first African-American valedictorian in school history is an amazing accomplishment, and I'm just so proud that I have the opportunity to be here to shake his hand, to give him his diploma, and to be the one to congratulate him on his accomplishment.
Additionally, Jaden is the first ever winner of the Dr. Peggy Jones Principal Award.
So my plans for the future, I'm currently deciding between the University of Florida and Duke University, where I recently got accepted, and that is also a truly amazing accomplishment that I have always worked for. That has been my dream school ever since I was in middle school, and from whenever I first started in the Duke Tips program and they sought out young middle schoolers. For my future occupational career, I hope to either do a pre-med biology track or either go into biotechnology because my school's CTE program really sparked my interest in that field of study. I'm Jaden Hughes, and I'm the class of 2022 valedictorian at Sebastian River High School.
Now, we know that Jaden wouldn't be here without the support of his family, who obviously is crazy about him. And Mr. Cummings, principal back here, and his other teachers that are here in the room. If you could stand, please, if you're one of Jaden's teachers. Oh, there. And someone else who's very proud of him is Dr. Deb Long. Dr. Long, would you please come to the podium?
Oh, wow, what an honor, what an honor. Jaden, I love you, baby. So, yes, Jaden is our first African-American valedictorian for Sebastian River High School. However, he joins one other elitist who was our valedictorian at Vero Beach High School back in 1986. Yeah, it's been a minute. And I have the distinct honor of introducing him tonight, but I do want to say this. The three of us have something in common. We all have attended the same church for a long time, and Jaden's dad's mom is a very, very faithful member of our church, Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Gifford, Florida. So I did want to, we are very, very God-filled, and I know that God is doing special things because both of these young men attended the same church. So we must be doing something right there. But with much ado about everything, Dr. Cobbs hails proudly from Gifford, Florida, and is a nationally recognized evaluation specialist and community researcher. He is a graduate of Morehouse College in Atlanta, 1991 Bachelor of Science, Florida International University in 1993 with his Master of Public Health, and the University of Miami, Florida in 1999 with his PhD in medical sociology. And most recently, a graduate of the Chicago Theological Seminary with his MA in theology. He has done some great things. We're so proud of him. He has worked extensively in communities on several health, social culture, and social issues in the capacity of evaluation research and community mobilization. He is the principal researcher of AC Research, Inc., located in Illinois and in Maryland. He has over 30 years' experience in public health program evaluation and research, and has been lead evaluation and statistical consultant to federal and state governments. He has taught introductory and medical sociology courses at the University of Miami and the Chicago State University. At the helm of his company, he has worked with over 75 community-based and faith-based organizations and corporations in Illinois, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Missouri, New York, California, Texas, Ohio, New Jersey, Georgia, Oklahoma, Maryland, West Virginia, Indiana, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, dealing with health disparities, public health, and health equity. His unique combination of education and professional experience allows him to create solutions-oriented models based in his sociological, medical health, and theological understanding of the communities that he serves. He has been lead researcher on 2 community health assessments conducted in the say it for me. Thank you. Aragats region in Armenia, and in orphanages in South Africa. He is presently the chairman of the board of the Christian Community Health Center in Chicago. He has served as lead evaluator and principal investigator on federally funded grants with the Department of Health and Human Services for over 20 years. He has been the lead evaluator and or principal investigator on over 25 federally funded substance abuse, mental health, and medical care programs targeting homeless and ethnic minority populations. Dr. Cobbs is the proud 1986 graduate of Vero Beach High School, where he was recognized as that school's first African-American valedictorian. So back then, kudos to you, Dr. Cobbs. Back then, he did not have an opportunity to be celebrated as Jaden has today. And I would like to say thank you to Dr. Peggy Jones, because when I called her on a Saturday evening and said, I want to do something, what are we going to do? She was like, let's get together. So thank you for that. Jaden, you have a tremendous opportunity ahead of you. And now Dr. Cobbs just wants to give you a few words of encouragement to send you on your way, baby.
Thank you very much for this time tonight as the star of the hour and the semester and the year and of our community is Mr. Jaden Hughes. Yeah. It feels good to be home. All praise is always to my God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I think it is very important that I recognize, first and foremost, Dr. Deborah Long for always being the kind of sister and friend that recognizes what this community needs, and when it needs that which we have available to us, putting it to work and to use. Jaden, we are really just excited about your achievement. And I was talking to a few of my classmates last night, and we all joked about, it's been 36 years, really? It sort of took you a little long, but we're happy you are here. We have prayed for you and hoped for you to represent our community in a way that we know that we have lived our lives, always wanting to serve others and be the shining example that we know that we are able to be. You know, my mother taught the children in the school system for almost 30 years. She was my first teacher, and she was my best teacher. I remember her teaching me proper grammar and cursive, which I don't even think they teach anymore, but penmanship. And I remember her always telling me to do my best and to be my best. My father, who isn't here tonight but is still with me at home, having health concerns, my 93-year-old father. My mother passed away when I was 14, Jaden, so Vanessa, she would have been happy to see her son as you are able to see yours. So I am grateful, and I want to say to Jaden tonight and to everyone listening that Jaden has been the inspiration to me because I was not celebrated like this. My road to becoming the first African-American valedictorian in 1986 was wrought with a lot of opposition and a lot of discrimination. But Jaden, I want to say to you and to everyone in this room, if it had not been, I would not be standing here today. From Gifford, Florida, when there was only one public high school in 1986, I have traveled the world and been to over 30 foreign countries. As Dr. Long has stated, I have 4 degrees, and none of that would have been possible if it were not for people like Dr. A. Ronald Hudson. Dr. Eddie Hudson. Yes, please, please. And Miss Ingram, I can't forget you either. So many faces. Mr. Buddy Joe Idlet, who's not here, please give your father my love. And also, I want to say, just people who I know and love in the room, Freddie. And I just have my sister here tonight. I'm so very honored to be here. Jaden, once again, you are our history-making future. The world is your canvas, young man. Go out into the world. Express your authenticity and your beauty because the world awaits. And we are grateful, and we are still praying and hoping and trusting and knowing that greatness will be seen by the world from you because you're already great. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Jaden, if you join us up front, we have a certificate of student recognition for you, and we'd like to get a photo of you with family and board members. So there you are. Congratulations. Board members.
I felt bad, but then Dad said okay, so I'm good.
He's got to practice.
All these interviews, I should be prepared by now, but I'm not really, so I guess all I can say is that I'm just truly grateful, eternally humbled, and truly blessed with all the support, wisdom, guidance, and all the people that are here for me tonight. It's truly surreal that I walked into ninth grade feeling like I was just going to graduate high school and do something after and be another story of just another high school graduate, but ninth grade me and 12th grade me are just, they wouldn't even know each other at this point. But all I can say is thank you to the board members, my family, the community support, my teachers especially for being the guiding lights for me and truly having an impact on my life. And I wish I could recognize all of them tonight, but I can't, sadly. But just know that each and every one of you guys truly have a place in my heart, and I'll never forget you guys. And all I can say is thank you. And I'll try to make all the accolades and the awards worth something, and I hope I will with my dad right behind me. I hope to make it something that you guys are all even more proud of than you are of me right now. So thank you.
All right, let's get some photos of you standing in the middle. We're going to get a few different photos, okay? So one of Jaden, one with family, one with Dr. Long, Dr. Cobbs.
Get the family up there. Yeah, he's got to be.
Okay, we'll both roll.
Oh, wait, look at the. Like,
Come on, one more.
And I think it would be really special to have Jaden and Dr. Cobbs in a picture.
oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Jaden and Dr. Cobbs, please remain with your seats.
Look at it.
Kristen, can we get them alone so they can have their own picture without board members?
Sure.
That would be awesome.
One more picture.
Yeah, sure.
And that concludes our presentations.
No, it doesn't mean one more.
Oh, gosh, no, it doesn't. We have Mrs. Barenborg is here to do the final presentation. I'm sorry, Mrs. Barenborg. Go right
That's
ahead.
okay, that's okay. All right, so it is a great honor that I get to give out the Agnes Peoples Memorial Scholarship. I've been going to different scholarship nights along with board members. We've gone to Vero Beach High School and to Sebastian River. I get to go to Indian River Charter this week and to St. Ed's. But tonight we're celebrating some students that are actually already graduated. But they're getting this scholarship because this scholarship is available for students that wish to continue their degree. 4-year degree in state of Florida school. And so Agnes Peoples lived in our county, and she was a switchboard operator. So back in the day before the cell phones, she would take the phone and connect you to the person you were calling. Well, her little paycheck from the little tiny telephone company she worked for had a dividend for stock. And when she passed on, her family wanted to honor her. So they took that stock and they gave it to this foundation. And that little known phone company became AT&T. So because of that stock, we were able to give $149,000 this year. Yeah. So we have 3 students here tonight that we'd like to honor. And these students are getting, the first girl is getting $6,000, Alyssa Sturgeon.
And Alyssa, if you would stay up at the front, please. Thank you.
We'll take a picture.
We have another awardee. This young lady is getting $6,000 as well, Hannah Haydick. And we have one more with us tonight. Jocelyn Hodges is getting $10,000.
Okay, and everyone, go to shift to the left. Board members behind the window. Okay.
Well done, girls.
And that concludes presentations for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Okay, I'd like to adjourn the awards and presentations meeting at 6:14. Board members will take about 5 minutes and we'll start our business meeting. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:21. I'd like to call the business meeting to order. Today is Monday, April 25th, 2022. This is the business meeting for the School District of Indian River County School Board. It is 6:21, and we are in the Joanne Idelette Junior Teacher Education Center. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Vero Beach High School's Air Force Junior ROTC Detachment 043 under the direction of Wade E. Dews, Chief Master Sergeant, retired, USAF, and Dean Rasdale, retired, Major, USAF. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, young ladies. They always do a super job. We appreciate that. Okay, board members, before I announce the adoption of the orders of the day, the meeting has been amended. Consent item 6A has been moved to action number 13B, and the superintendent's report has been moved to after the presentations. Okay? Are there any items board members wish to move from consent to action?
There is, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to move 8A to action.
Okay.
And I'd like to add a discussion item.
Okay.
The discussion will be standards of ethical behavior.
Excuse me, can you clarify what is item 8A? I don't see an 8A here.
8A is the approval of personnel recommendations.
Okay,
that's
been-
9A.
It's been moved to 9A.
That has been moved to 9. Okay, so I want to move 9A. I'm looking at one that I printed at home. So then I'll move that one, the personnel recommendations to action.
Okay. I need that paper then. Can I have that paper?
Oh, we'll get
Where is my-
All right. Anyone else? Thank you. So I'd like to call for a motion to accept the adoption of the orders of the day.
I make a motion?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barefoot? Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, passes 5-0. All right. I'm going to recognize Dr. Moore for superintendent's update.
Madam Chair, if we could do the autism awareness proclamation, because we have people waiting, I think, and then we'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. All right. At this time, we have a proclamation that's going to be read. Who's going to read our proclamation? I'm sorry? Okay. Calling Cat Wolf. Can you read it? No, you sign it.
Oh, sorry.
They're reading it.
a big night going on tonight.
Yes? I'm sorry. Kat, would you raise your hand, please? I don't know. Kat Wolf. Oh, I'm like, I don't see her. Would you like to come up and say a few words before the proclamation? Okay.
Good evening. We are very excited to recognize April as Autism Awareness Month, and we are very pleased to welcome the students and some staff and family members from the Wabasso School to read that proclamation for us this evening. Should I give them the mic, or? Okay.
Yes,
sure.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know. Sorry. Start with you.
Yay. Good evening. Wabasso School is here to read the proclamation designating April 2022 as Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism spectrum disorder is a neurological difference that can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. And
whereas autism spectrum disorder affects 1 in 44 children in the United States, and
approximately 278 students in Indian River County School as of March 2022. And
whereas males are almost 4 times more likely to have autism spectrum disorder than females.
Whereas autism spectrum disorder is estimated to be the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States by the Center of Disease Control and Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring.
okay. We are aware to have close to an with all sacrifice and commerce with a worker secretary and nothing.
Whereas symptoms and characteristics of autism spectrum disorder present themselves in a variety of combinations and can result in lifelong impacts of an individual's ability to learn, develop relationships, and understand verbal and nonverbal communication.
And whereas early diagnosis and intervention, as well as ongoing support from family, doctors, therapists, and educators can positively impact people with autism spectrum disorder to achieve better outcomes and a higher quality of life. And
whereas people with autism spectrum disorder should have access to appropriate services throughout their lifetime, so that they may achieve their greatest potential and lead happy and productive lives. activities.
Whereas the school board of Indian River County prides itself on being pupil-centered, and where our schools and communities are committed to developing programs and providing service that meet the diverse academic and social needs of all of our students' body, including those with autism.
Now therefore let it be resolved, the School Board of Indian River County, Florida does hereby proclaim the month of April as Autism Awareness Month and urges all personnel and students to participate in Autism Awareness Month activities in order to become better educated on the strengths and needs of those with autism spectrum disorder.
Stay there. Stay there, stay there, stay there.
Okay, that was very well said. Thank you all. Oh, sorry, we're not done yet, though. We have to call for a motion, sorry. I'd like to call for a motion to accept the proclamation.
Move approval.
Second.
Dr. Schiff, second by Ms. Rosario. Any discussion? I'd like to just say congratulations on a very well-done presentation, everyone. And call for the vote. Those of you that move for approval, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Now we can.
Okay, we have some awards, some plaques to give our students for their participation, and some program specialists are going to help hand those out. We have Gabby London.
Gabby.
We have Tajavius Farnell. We have Jaleesa Medler. Ryan Sevick. Who's the next one? Joey Salas. Sorry, I can't see. Parker Caro. And Connor Marks. If everybody could please just stay right where you are for a picture, that would be great. And thank you so much for participating tonight.
Can you all move over a little bit, just a little bit? Is that possible? Can you move some people over a little bit so we can get the people on the other end in?
Scooch over. There we go.
He's got it. He got it.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Well
as they clear, I just want to thank Wabasso family for being here and bringing your students. Absolutely outstanding, as well as our ESC district staff. The work that you all do each and every single day is truly appreciated, and it was a delight to see the effort you put into our students. Thank you very much. And we'll give them a minute to clear out. We'll go right into my item.
And you're up next, Superintendent.
So as they clear out, we're going to switch things up a little bit, do the superintendent's report, which is typically an action item that is towards the end of the agenda, have the opportunity to present it earlier today. And board, as you know, we have been for over a year working on creating a relationship with the Ed Foundation, really to create an entity within our school district, in our community that supports our district strategic plan. And over the course of the year, or actually just over a year ago, we engaged in the dialogue whether to start our own foundation, and that was some conversation that we as a board had. And then we stumbled upon the Ed Foundation that was currently in place. A new executive director had just moved into town in the middle of the pandemic. I think he actually moved in the pandemic, or at least I had 44 days leading into the pandemic. And we began to explore the opportunity to use the current Ed Foundation as a system to support and enhance our district strategic plan. And we're very happy to bring an update to the board, and I'm going to ask our Director of Innovation, Ms. Cindy Emerson, to come up to the podium and briefly set up the presentation that we'll have or report to the board. Ms. Emerson.
To the board, it's been such an incredible experience working with Doug Heron and the team at the Education Foundation. But I think actions speak louder than words, and so I'd like to start with a video today.
We want to provide a quality education for all students. The Ed Foundation values public education, whether it be a high-impact grant, recreating resources or programmings in schools. The Ed Foundation steps in and fills those gaps. They are our partners who are very strategic in ensuring all of our students have access to whatever it is they may need to be successful.
We're transforming education to meet the needs of 21st century learners, empowering students to maximize their fullest potential. It's critical for the school district and the Education Foundation to partner with the community to provide the resources that children need that are going to help them academically, emotionally, to grow into the adults that they need to be. Currently, the Ed Foundation supports and funds 8 different programs in collaboration with the school district of Indian River County. Probably the one I'm most excited about every year is the high impact grants to teachers in schools in Indian River County.
I came up with the connecting academic dots with drum lines, and it's not only helping us in their academics, but we're starting a middle school drum line. There are cross-curricular connections between reading, music, math, reading class. You're decoding new text, different rhythms, language, different style of music. Just having them kind of take ownership of the program and now having the resources because of the grant, that's largely just helped this take off and be successful. We're creating a positive classroom, a positive space for these kids, and they're finding a good outlet to, drum and have fun and make new friends.
It not only impacts children, but also to help teachers do what they do just a little bit better and make their job just a little bit easier. For the 2021 school year, the Education Foundation funded over $57,000 in classroom grants for teachers at 11 different schools in Indian River County.
There's many things I like about Mr. Greenwood's class. One main one is the opportunities it opens up. Obviously, we learn about drumming and technique, but there's also a lot of valuable life lessons that comes out of this class.
Everything we do at the Education Foundation, every program we sponsor, every service we provide, we want to make sure that it's connected to one of those pillars: innovation, development, equity, access, and support.
I believe the Ed Foundation really wants the best for our students in Indian River County, and I believe they want to connect the community with the schools and the scholars.
I believe in the Education Foundation because they've supported us for so long now. The money is going to the schools.
Thank you for empowering me to be the best that I can be.
Thank you for empowering me to be the best I can be.
Thank you for helping us to empower all students to be the best that they can be.
And at this time, I would like to call up the Executive Director of the Education Foundation, Doug Herron, who will share the new aligned pillars with the board and our community at this time.
I have to say that what has happened prior to my standing at the podium kind of makes me feel a little bit like a slacker after all the accomplishments of all these young people. But it's really the mission of the Education Foundation to ensure that those types of recognitions and presentations continue. And so that's the kind of work we want to do with the school district. So Dr. Moore mentioned us working over a year. I think it's probably closer, at least 18 months. We've been developing this relationship and trying to grow what we could do with the school district to improve things for kids. And I think we got into probably several different things occurred, a confluence of things that occurred to make that happen. But I'm grateful that it has happened. So we have this big ideas. Cindy's already mentioned innovation, the 5 pillars: innovation, development, excellence, access, and support, those 5 pillars. And what we've done in our work, and I'm going to stop just a minute because I don't want to be remiss to not recognize and introduce our board. Which if you've heard me here before and heard me introduce our board, you will recognize that it has grown substantially, and that's a good thing. We now have 11 members, so I don't think all 11 were able to make it tonight, but I do want to recognize the ones that are here. Ms. Laika Gerwin-Moretta is our interim board chair. Mr. James Elford is our vice chair. I don't think he was able to make it tonight. He's usually on the road but participates from there. Ms. Lee Moore is our secretary. Bob Alwater is our new treasurer. We're excited to have Bob on board. Ms. Tracy Carroll. Mr. Bill Douglas, our immediate past president. We've changed the terminology. And one of the additions I'm most excited about is Cindy Emerson is now on our board, which I worked for a while to get a school district representative on our board, and we're there. We may add more, but we're at least, we've gotten this far. Mr. Dwight Brian Holmes, I don't believe is able to be with us either. Mr. Kenny Holmes. Mr. Ben Keel. Ms. Helen Millman. And Ms. Kathleen Pogani are our board members. So thank you, board members, for your support. And we'll just begin now looking at these pillars and what programs we currently have. I'm excited to say that what we did when we started off, Cindy and I, we took the programs that the Ed Foundation currently had in place. And we wanted to take a look at those programs and make sure that they were supporting the district's strategic plan. If they weren't, we didn't necessarily want to discard them wholesale, but we wanted to look at how we might be able to adapt them or change them or come up with new programs that could better support the strategic plan. And I know it might be a little difficult to read the booklet up on the wall, but I'm going to kind of help you along here. So I want to focus on the big ideas. And the first one is innovation. And under that pillar of innovation, we currently have these programs, our high impact grant programs that you heard in the video. You heard about that in the video. It is the program probably I'm most excited about every year. This past year that we're culminating right now, we awarded over $57,000 in grants to teachers at 11 different schools. That was the most schools we've ever awarded to. And also, for the first year, we awarded one to one of the charter schools, Indian River Charter High School, which I thought was very exciting as well. My goal for the High Impact Grants program over the next 3 years is to make it a true one-to-one match program. Most of the funding for that program comes from the state legislature, who recently began funding $6 million a year for the entire state. So Indian River County gets about $45,000 from them. So if we can make it a true one-to-one match, I would like to start handing out $90,000 in grants to teachers every year. So that's a substantial increase over what we're already giving out. Also under innovation is probably our longest standing program is the Indian River Regional Science and Engineering Fair. I think has been, since the inception of the Ed Foundation, that program has been in place. As you know, COVID kind of set it back a little bit. We had to have a virtual program one year. We went back to a face-to-face program this year. We also transitioned the Ed Foundation. We want to be less of an implementer of programs and more of a funder and supporter. So we did over the past couple of years have handed more of that work over to the school district, and the district science department has picked it up and ran with it. And so our goal, helping them move forward, is to increase student participation, particularly at the secondary level. We know sometimes when kids move on from elementary to secondary, they kind of, science fair was one of those things we did in elementary school, but we want to work with the elementary students so that love for the science fair is still there when they move into the secondary programs. I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to pick it up. Brevity is my issue, I will say. Okay, so I'm moving along here. Under development, 2 new programs, a staff development fund. So we're working to build a fund of money, and we really want all of our programs to begin kind of working somewhat like our high impact grants program, where teachers and schools come to us, they apply for funding. So if they come to us with staff development funding ideas, then we'll have a committee at the Ed Foundation that works with them and funds programs based upon how well they present it to us. Are they progress monitoring, or what are the outcomes? And then really quick, the Facility Development Fund is already underway. Everyone knows about the Vero Beach Community Complex. So the Ed Foundation is the lead fundraising organization for this project. $7 million plus project, and I'm happy to tell you, just found out tonight, we have a $1 million commitment from the city of Vero Beach. We have a $1 million commitment from a private donor. I think there was a $25,000 commitment, and I just found out on the way in here that we have a $500,000 commitment from a corporate sponsor, a solid corporate sponsor. So we're well on our way. Phase 1 of the program, I think, is what, $4 million roughly. So we're over halfway to fund phase 1, which is the stadium and the inclusive playground. So these are exciting times. And I want to keep moving. Cindy can punch me when I'm done. Under excellence, we have programs. We've added a program called Angles of Excellence, and it will address, I hate to use the word deficiencies, but math deficiencies in the district. We want to bring those scores back up. We've focused a lot on early literacy, rightfully so, but we don't want to let math continue to drop. So we've already received, I'm happy to announce, for one program is a staff development program called 90 times 9 algebra. It's an algebra PLC grant. We've already received a $13,500 grant to fund that for next year, so it's funded. It's ready to roll. And we've also received a $15,000 grant from the LJ Foundation. The $13,500 was from Johns Island Community Service League. I should have pointed that out. From the LJ Foundation, we've received another $15,000 to fund programs within that Angles of Excellence program. So these are new programs that we've already got solid funding to get started. Also, as our Step Into Kindergarten program is under that pillar as well, long-standing. A lot of you know about that. I'm going to keep moving. Tech Excellence Fund is also under there, where we're going to also have a fund for to increase technology, particularly for those students that don't have it at home. Next is access. And we have two programs under that. One is we want to start a fund again for enrichment experiences for students that don't have the financial means to attend field trips or educational trips, either in elementary or secondary school. Also, our current programs, the Sneaker Exchange and Vision for Reading, that a lot of you are familiar with, are also under that pillar. And I'll leave that one off. And we want to add to that the All Access program. I'm sorry, I didn't put a bullet point there. We want to make sure students, if they want to participate in athletic programs that sometimes have a little bit of a cost factor that might make it prohibitive, we want to add that to it. So if they need equipment for lacrosse or whatever it might, rowing, then we want to be able to assist with that as well. And last but not least, our support pillar, we have Adopt a Class and Fund a Project. Those are programs that are already in place. I think they're underutilized. So we're going to try to push those a little bit more and make sure at the start of the school year teachers are aware so they can get signed up if they have any I have a lot of teachers come to me because they didn't get a high impact grant, and then when they describe their project to me, it could have been funded on the Fund a Project portal. So we want to make sure that they're aware of that. And probably to end, one of my favorite is a program we just started, Keeping the Promise. And this is going to help us be able to retain and keep teachers in Indian River County. It will be a fund, and I'm happy to announce it's already been funded with a $25,000 grant from the LJ Foundation, where new teachers to the district instructional staff, after they've gone through their 90-day probationary period, they can apply for assistance with first and last month's rent, security deposits, those type of expenses that we know are sometimes what prohibits teachers either moving to Indian River County or staying because of the cost of housing. So a lot of things. I will stop there. If there's time for questions.
I just want to thank the Ed Foundation for rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. This isn't an easy undertaking, but you are truly doing the work, boots on the ground in the community, helping us maximize all of the support and services that we can provide to our educators. The grants that you see, some of the students who were signing academic scholarships tonight had the opportunity to benefit from things in which you fund. Teachers who will have the opportunity to receive a reimbursement for moving and making a commitment to be in service of our children. Those are things just right off the top of my head we can't do as a school system, but when you energize the community to stand behind public education and the impact that it has, we will be world class. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for the board. Giving of your time truly is something that I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Looking forward to bigger and better and greater things. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next presentation is just almost a tease on something that we're working at as we begin to problem solve and moving into next school year. We're going to highlight some data that is public facing. And one of the things that we have done as a school district is really to be public with our practice. And when I say public with our practice, sharing the reality of what is happening in and around our schools. So as Dr. McMahon has created a dashboard, we want to share it. This is a dashboard that is public facing for the entire world to see. So if you were to go to where it says access data on our home page, where he is circling and making everybody dizzy with the mouse, you could click on that, and there's a plethora of data that we share. I'm going to highlight student discipline this evening. Student discipline is something that we have been working on. There's a number of individuals in our community. Mr. Karapi, who is here tonight, referenced it at the last board meeting. I have a number of individuals who are working on creating mentoring groups, really to address our discipline for students moving forward. If you click into that, that's the legally explanations that Dr. McMahon so willfully provides. But here's an ongoing snapshot that looks at office discipline referrals. You have the opportunity to filter down by school. You have the opportunity to look by ethnicity. This is a very, very transparent, live in real time. so you can progress the discipline. And I'm just going to leave it here. And as we problem solve this data, there's a few things that we saw. This is not at all typical data. So if you were to look in October, you see a spike. In my 27 years, I've never seen a discipline spike in October. But you go back to the previous month, that's when we had students out and teachers out. We were hovering around 60% attendance. So as we problem solve through, you see a direct impact of what is that pandemic and the stress that it causes to students and teachers when they return to school. You see it repeat itself in a drastic way in February. January, same exact scenario. Coming back in February, you see that spike. You see it leveling off over the last 2 months. Typically, the data in research is clear. March is typically a very aggressive month when it comes to discipline. It's that spring break month and tailors off as we move throughout the school. So as we problem solve, we want to continue to grow this and looking at comparisons from a previous school year to the next school year, really giving our community a sense as to when things are or are not happening in our schools. As Ms. Rosario has referenced in workshops, we will be pushing out a major initiative around bullying and expectations going into the next school year. As we plan our summer development, the team, we've always been focused in on teaching and learning and always been focused in for the last 2 years around the impacts or shifts in instruction associated with the impacts of the pandemic. And we're going to be very specific on school-wide culture, really looking at school-wide expectations, common language to use across every single school to ensure as we move into next school year, we have clearly defined expectations in place. I had the opportunity earlier this week, or last week, the weeks blur together, to meet with the executive board of our teachers union and shared a number of absolutely outstanding ideas that we can continue to work together and partner with them to put in place to ensure we have the absolute highest expectation, because the goal is unwavering in terms of students feeling safe, feeling comfortable, and when they walk into our schools. So when they're sitting in our classrooms, they can fully connect and engage in the instruction that we are providing for them. So this is an app I would encourage everybody to go to. If you go to the previous tiles, there are a number of different ways in which you can filter and look at a number of different things. This is not the norm. I don't know of another school district that has this much data public facing, and that's a level of accountability. And to be very, very honest with you, over the last couple years, pandemic data isn't really data that anyone is overly excited about. But what makes us better is having truthful and honest dialogue around our reality, digging down to truly understand what problems do we need to address. So as we begin to prepare and plan for the upcoming school year, understanding the need for change, the need for improvement is a priority, just not for those who are employed by the School District of Indian River County, but for every member of our community. We need to stand together. We need to be willing to engage in conversations that may not be very comfortable to have, but because we are neighbors, because we live in this community, we want to engage in the conversation to ensure that our schools are a safe haven. Our schools are places where every single student understands the expectation, and we all hold ourselves accountable to those specific behaviors. So this is an exciting time for us. To be very honest with you, board members, it's a lot of planning going in for the upcoming school year. It's very exciting to see that the district itself isn't directly responding to the pandemic and the issues that are happening next week or next month. We are 6 months out. We are looking at summer planning. We are looking at master schedule development. We are looking into the innovative programs that are coming next year. We're going to have in our upcoming briefings the opportunity to talk about that master plan. Remember that master plan where a year ago we were talking about the number of kids that were in our elementary schools and how that number of kids exceeds the space that we have in our secondary schools. And if we don't do something, we're not going to have a place to put our elementary children. We can't walk away from that conversation, but I'm excited to say that we've been deeply engaged. I'm going to bring recommendations, heavy recommendations for you guys to consider before we go out and get community input. So this is a step in the absolute right direction in terms of the problem solving. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank our community, Mr. Karapi, Milo Thornton, our number of individuals who are just seeking me out to do some of this planning. So with that, board, that is my report. I don't have to wait till the end of the night. I'm done right now. Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, back to the agenda.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate the transparency. All right, it is time for citizen input. And with that, I have a statement we need to read. These are the guidelines for citizen input according to the School Board Policy 0169.1. Each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. Persons will be recognized in the order in which the requests were received. The time shall start when the speaker is at the podium, and the school board attorney will be the official timekeeper. You will hear a beep at the end of your 3 minutes. Persons may speak for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of the business meeting during citizen input as indicated on the order of business, and for up to 3 minutes to each action agenda item during the action agenda, and each board member discussion item as indicated on the order of business. Persons may only speak once about any given item. The time period may be extended by the presiding officer. Only the individual speaker's form is allowed to address the board. Time may not be yielded to other speakers. During the meeting, please refrain from clapping or outbursts of any sort so that we can proceed with dignity and decorum by not infringing on any individual's First Amendment rights. I need to remind everyone to direct all comments to the chairman, not to individual board members or to the superintendent. Board members may or may not address any citizen input statements at the end of all citizen input comments. As board members listen to citizens without interruption, citizens are asked to give board members the same respect. As per Florida Statute 1001.372, subsection 3, the presiding officer of any district school board may order the removal from a public meeting held by the district school board of any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer has first issued a warning that continued interference with the orderly process of the meeting will result in a removal. All right, with that being said, we're going to call up our first speaker. I'll announce the speaker and then the person on deck. So the first speaker is Thomas Kenny. The person on deck is John Crappie.
I really want to take drumline. No, I do. That just looks like an awesome program. I'm just speaking to, we had an issue in February with the books being passed, and I want to speak to community standards. Because it says in the law that the community standard is the standard by which we operate when it comes to obscenity. And during the passing of the books that returned to the library, many board members expressed that they personally wouldn't have this in their homes and so on. They developed a community standard. The chair even said that as a representative of the people here in this room, whether those people voted for her when she ran or not, everyone on the board is a representative. And so a community standard was established by the representatives. And lately, even the Sheriff's Department has expressed the community standard again. And so I would like to just address that here because I think that's important. We're starting to see in the fallout of this issue and what has happened, many people coming forth going, well, I would do this in my house, but I'm going to vote for it here in the school, which confused me. To me, this is not an issue of free speech or censorship, because as purchasers of books, we curate as a school system. We select some authors over others. We select titles over other titles. We do that all the time. We censor constantly in our purchases. Secondly, the school system then owns that copy. That book is all over the United States or even the world. Publishers don't care anymore. You have the copy. And so when I look at that, it's not a matter of censorship, because those who would even say this is a community standard in my home are censoring. It's just a common decision. And so with that, I just want to redirect that to the board, because also in the statute under 1006.40, there are 4 qualities. One of them being that it's free of pornography and age appropriate, which I would say you don't give a trigonometry book to a kindergartner. So with that, I yield back and follow your standards.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crappie is next. Jennifer Pippin is on deck.
All right. Good evening. How's everybody doing? So, like Dr. Moore had said at the last meeting, I had brought up about the mitigation strategy, putting something together, and obviously we have some data up here that's good data. It's good hard data that we've been collecting. I think there's a lot more work to do, obviously. I think that taking that, and I think people that saw the data in here, that we can condense that a little bit more, be a little bit more to the fact where we can see the hot spots, because we know certain schools aren't going to be in those certain areas, taking that data and putting it in over top of what we're going to go into next year to be able to gauge and be prepared for what's coming next. And that's, you know, making sure that these bullying situations and the violence gets curbed down and is mitigated. So I appreciate Terry for meeting with me, and Dr. Moore, Mr. Bass, Mr. Seymour, having those 2 meetings. I really appreciate it, and I think that we'll make progress, but there's a lot more work to be done, and I hope something gets input before the end of the year so that we can go into next year and figure out what needs to be done, and the community and everyone involved can gauge it. So I appreciate that. So what I'm trying to do is work together, stronger together. That's what we're trying to do. Terry, you know, there's some things through the chair that I don't agree with, some of the things in the past that you've done, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, we're working together. And so that's really what it's all about. This time last year, things were different. Now I'm standing in front of you, we're meeting, and we're doing different things, and we're working together. The other thing I want to point out through the chair to the former chair is that I want to make sure that we're thinking about working together. And from what I've heard in the community, the former chair is having fundraisers for a future potential board member.
Mr. Crappie.
Well, what? I can say through the chair, right?
Well, you need to direct your comments to me,
okay.
not about a board member.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, through the chair, we have some things going on where we're not trying to work together with a current board member. We're trying to replace that person because that person doesn't agree with the former board's narrative. And so I want to make sure that we work together on that. And that's not working together, that's working against the grain. And we need to make sure that we're sticking to that, because the former board chair has 2 years left, and we have up until November to replace the board. So we have to keep that in mind, that we have that amount of time to make sure we're still working together and not working against each other. Together we're stronger, correct? And that's what I want to make sure that people understand that. I mean, we're trying to build the bridge, cross the aisles, shaking hands, making sure our kids are safe, making sure there's nothing happening in our schools that's nefarious, but we have to work together. And that's where I want to make sure that we're looking at that and not trying to fight each other on that, okay? So I appreciate the time. I appreciate everybody trying to work together and come together as a community and make sure that we get that done. All right? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a good night.
All right, Jennifer Pippin is next, and Reverend Dr. John Vaccario is next.
Vacchiano.
Vacchiano, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Pippin. I'm the chairman of Moms for Liberty Indian River, Florida, and also one of the co-founders for We the People Indian River, Florida. We're looking forward to working with the district to review the library books we already submitted, and we have more. And once the new education law goes into effect 7/1/2022, we are willing to help plan to make the plan to form the committees to review books, and we met with 2 board members and Mr. Meyer in the past month on this. I want you guys to think about this. Do you guys know how many books we have about the surgical technology program that's going to be implemented here soon and in the school district through the the job fairs? There's one. And that's where people work with physicians and nurses to perform surgeries. And I think that's a great program. We have one in the school district. Do you know how many books we have on prostitution in the school district? 32. How about books on being a welder as a profession? We have one in the school district. Do you know how many books we have on rape? 144. Currently, there's no policy to donate library books, and again, we're looking forward to building a policy and procedure on donating books because Moms for Liberty has Heroes for Liberty books, the Tuttle Twins, a lot of true history, presidents and things, these books that we want to donate with no profanity, no violence, no critical race theory, and no sexually explicit content. As for the code of conduct, we appreciate the time that's been spent, and a lot of feedback from teachers and staff and Moms for Liberty members is that the implementation of the code of conduct needs to be successful. Also, I want to thank Dr. Moore, Mr. Seymour, and Mrs. Rosario for helping me with a personal issue this past month that references my son. For the math curriculum adoption process, we had many parents, grandparents, and community members on the curriculum review process locally and with the DOE. So yes, parents, grandparents, and community members need to have a role in this. And also Chris, our vice chair of Moms for Liberty, was on the Department of Education vetting committee, and her work has been showcased with many news outlets and throughout the state. So that's a great honor to have that person here in Indian River County. I also finally want to thank the board members and community members who attended our school board candidate forum this past Friday. If you missed it, it's on our social media pages. Thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you.
Just really, if the students that are here, that if you need something signed, any of the staff over there can sign it for you. I just saw students leave. I'm concerned that they didn't have the opportunity to get it signed, so I want you to get credit for being here.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Dr. John Vacciano? Vacciano, sorry. And next is Cindy Gibbs.
Good evening. I've been an educator almost 30 years. Public school, the private school, homeschool, and I'm so encouraged about our transforming education. Really want to help, really want to encourage, be an encouragement. There's folks that have come around me that really want to see our education transformed. It was back in 1951, the Board of Regents, the school board there in the state of New York, authorized these words to start each day of the school day. Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence upon Thee, and we beg Thy blessings upon us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. Just a simple prayer to begin the day. And then a few years later, the Supreme Court in 1962 unconstitutionally stopped that. They say that education that is devoid of religious instruction is defective. It was Noah Webster who said those terms, the father of considered the schoolmaster of America. He said, any system of education, therefore, which limits instruction to the arts and sciences and rejects the aids of religion in forming the characters of citizens is essentially defective, he said. In my view, the Christian religion is the most important and one of the first things in which all children under a free government ought to be instructed. No truth is more evident to my mind than that the Christian religion must be the basis of any government intended to secure the rights and privileges of a free people. That's the schoolmaster of America. I would love to transform education back to the founding principles that we know have worked. It was Fisher Ames who said, should not the Bible regain the place it once held as a school book? Its morals are pure, its examples are captivating and noble. The reverence for the sacred book that is thus early impressed lasts long, and probably, if not impressed in infancy, never takes firm hold of the mind. And in no book is there so good English, so pure and so elegant, and by teaching the same they will speak alike, and the Bible will justly remain the standard of language as well as of faith. In his writings about the education of youth in America, Noah Webster said this: "The education of youth in all governments, an object of the first consequence." Kids have to be first. The impression received in early life usually form the characters of individuals, a union which forms the general character of a nation. If we really want to get back to the truths of transforming education, we need religion, morality, and knowledge as our pillars of education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, no clapping. Sorry. Please, no clapping. Thank you. Cindy Gibbs is next, and Mara McDaniel is after that.
Good evening. We're nearly at the end of another school year with all of its celebrations and milestones. Tonight was amazing. But it's not the end of the work year for teachers and staff who are now going to spend the summer taking classes and workshops, hopefully training on a new math series before the new year starts, cleaning and organizing the schools. And of course, it's time for the district to reinforce the code of conduct with teachers and staff, so there's consistent support for all of our kids and all of our teachers and all of our staff. We know that the code of student conduct states that our schools should be fostering a caring and responsive culture to ensure a positive learning environment for staff and students, and to provide a safe and secure learning environment, and that staff is properly trained, and that we're properly staffed, that we have enough people who are properly certified to do that, and that we're administering discipline systems in a fair and consistent manner for all kids, regardless of what their situation is. And then, of course, the kids have to follow the classroom rules, and the expectations have to have consequences consistently, every time. When a kid knows that there's a threat or there's some kind of a problem or there's a dangerous situation, the code of conduct that they sign at the beginning of the year with their family says that they're going to report that before it happens, and that they should be treating others with dignity and respect, and not bullying, and not bringing or possessing illegal substances and items at school. And right now, from what I'm hearing from my own students, my own children who go to the schools, we're not doing a good enough job as a community to support that. But I know we can do it. Kids, parents, teachers, staff, the whole community around them. So we can't deny kids the ability to talk to their trusted adults at school. We have to make sure that we're holding kids accountable consistently when they're vaping in the bathroom and kids can't use the bathroom because they're all in the bathroom vaping. We have to fix that. There has to be consequences. Yes, I know we have ripple effect, but there has to be more to it than that, especially for frequent flyers. And we know, it's a fact, we see videos over and over again of kids meeting in bathrooms to fight. I mean, they're even shaking on it. It's like an arena. We can't have that. We can't have kids at school learning if they're afraid to go in the bathroom. And we know that the teachers aren't causing these fights. The administration isn't causing these fights. It's the kids. They're having a conversation about it. So we need to come up with consistent rules that are supporting the kids to make the best choices. Maybe they don't need to have their phones in their classrooms all the time. As a community raising these kids, all of us, parents, teachers, administrators, coaches, everybody needs to hold all of our kids accountable. And maybe we even need to have some kind of a system. Of course, we already have one in place, but we have to make it okay for kids to be able to talk to trusted adults at school, because we can see by the behavior of a lot of our kids, many of our kids, that they don't have that trusted adult system at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Mara McDaniel is next, and Karen Rutledge is on deck.
Hi, my name is Mara McDaniel, and I'm a freshman here in Indian River County. I would like to say thank you to all of our teachers after this crazy year. I hear negative things on the news all the time, and I'm just here to say that the only thing a teacher has encouraged me to do is be a better student and a better leader. My teachers have encouraged me to do dual enrollment. I'm currently in a dual enrollment. My teachers have encouraged me to invest in environmental science. I'm in 2 classes. They are helping me to become a better version of myself, and I am forever grateful to them. As the school board, I hope you are looking out for the teachers as much as you are looking out for the students. And we are trusting you to protect our education and not just the interests of the people speaking the loudest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mara. Karen Rutledge is next. Susan Meals on deck.
Good evening, y'all. I'm going to be short and sweet, which is not my typical personality. Listening to a lot of stuff that's going on, and I just felt the need to come. I wasn't going to come tonight, had family in town, but decided to come tonight and just put my 2 cents on just a few things. First of all, I just wanted to say that as a nurse, when we receive an unstable patient, we stabilize that patient first before we try to investigate the causes of why that patient decompensated. And I bring that analogy in because I feel that we need to treat the issue with these, I call them questionable books, as an emergent issue. I don't really agree with banning them, but rather at this stage, relocating them off of the shelves, maybe behind the checkout counter, until we can figure out how to proceed. Whether that means that the only person that can check them out is the librarian rather than the students that are getting their time actually in the library. To me, this would be a win-win. It's just, it stabilizes the situation while we continue to investigate what to do. I've heard a lot about the code of conduct. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but I've heard it mentioned tonight. And I've participated on the code of conduct for 3 years. The first year of COVID, we kind of tabled it. Didn't get an invite to participate or any email notices. Nothing went to my junk mail to participate on it again this year. But having said that, and knowing very clearly the last time that I did sit on the code of conduct, Dr. Jones was on the committee with me, and that was nice to see her input from all of her vast experience, which was really awesome. But one of the things that we discussed the last time that I was on that committee was we were talking about logos, and it was going to be logo-free, graphic-free, that kind of thing. And it made me start thinking that what if a student was to walk in with a t-shirt that said, give me a fill in the blank with a sexual act? That student would be disciplined. That student would be dress coded. And I just don't feel that because language like that, which is actually in some of these books, should be treated and scrutinized any differently. I think that that needs to be addressed for the seriousness that it is, because a student can't get away with that, with having that as a graphic on their shirts. I also just want to point out specifically, thank you, Dr. Berenborg, or Mrs. Berenborg, for suggesting that I review the superintendent workshop from April 11th. That workshop was very enlightening. However, I came away feeling like it was a plan to make a plan, and I just want to encourage you, everybody that's involved from this point on, let's really take this serious and try to hammer this out and try to get as much done as we can to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Meal?
Am I last?
You are.
Oh. Well, first, let me thank you for having the foresight to not approve just one set of math curriculums for all the schools, but multiple alternative ones. And thanks to anyone who reached out to the DOE to express a concern about the packages received from some of the publishers. I have an actual belief that they listened this time. Words, we've all talked about words. Or it's interesting, one of your priorities or the school's priorities is to teach children the meaning and usage of words. It's a major part of ELA curriculum. But sometimes we don't always agree now on the common meaning of words, and that becomes a problem. I got into this process with the release of a job description for a diversity, equity, inclusion senior officer. It was a whole lot of words, and that no one seemed to explain fully, like infusing the curriculum with diversity and a diversity lens. What did it all mean? A charity I know believes we should all respect the pronouns chosen by students. Pronouns are words. We're going to change the meaning of pronouns and their usage for a tiny minority of confused children who wouldn't be confused at all if we just taught words. We also have found how many people can twist words. Someone against CRT in the curriculum is said to not want to teach American history, which is totally false. We learned that social emotional learning was necessary because all children need to feel safe going to school. The first time I heard this, I thought, if there are unsafe schools, why aren't you fixing them? But the definition here of safe is a little different than the common one we all think of. But these words that I'm about to read are very clear and they're not twisted. The president of the American Library Association said about herself, quote, "I just cannot believe that a Marxist lesbian who believes that collective power is possible to build and can be wielded for a better world is the president-elect of the ALA, exclamation point." She also said decades of unchecked climate change, class war, white supremacy, and imperialism have led us here. And just to be certain about the new president's role in schools, Randy Weingarten, Teachers Union president, endorsed her by saying, "In the face of increasing challenges to the school library books and teachers' curricula, she knows how to organize and mobilize on behalf of library workers and our communities." Those are code words we're not going to talk about. Where we would like to talk is that we be ensured by you all that media specialists or librarians are not the only ones that will be working to evaluate our library books. We'd really appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Meal. Okay. So I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda items minus 9A that got moved to action.
Move approval.
Okay, Dr. Schiff, second. Mr. Barefoot? Okay, any discussion? Call for the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, and now we're going to review action item 9A. Mrs. Rosario, you pulled that item?
No.
Sorry,
9A is,
personnel.
oh, 6A is also pulled, which is first, which is the
Oh, I'm
curriculum
sorry.
and instruction. And even
Which one? 6A?
the curriculum and instruction item we pulled.
Oh, you pulled it. Okay, I'm sorry.
And even when we get to the other, that's my item to present.
Okay, so you wanna discuss 6A?
So 6A is the approval of the math curriculum. It's a very, very straightforward item. We are only approving, the recommend of this item is only to approve the items that were in fact approved by the state of Florida. So this is looking at the items that our committee went through, made selections, and ultimately ranked in order. As mentioned, we were one of the only districts that selected a number to ensure that when we had the opportunity, we could in fact approve as quickly as possible, and that's what we're doing tonight. This item, straightforward, recommends the approval of the items in high school as well as middle school that are in fact on the state list. I'll ask Mr. Meyer just to take us a little bit deeper, put together a very quick presentation for the ease of the board to simply understand what we're proposing tonight.
Through the chair, thank you, Dr. Moore. Yes, and we did have an opportunity to present portions of this in January, and we discussed it at the workshop on the 11th. However, the state of Florida did not release the approved list until the 15th, so it's our first opportunity to do this presentation to the public at large. As a reminder, in the high school and advanced electives, there was a tie between the Cengage products and the Savas products. The Savas products were the products that during the statutory required public hearing that we did get a number of complaints about. We also received petitions about 3 of these products during the 30-day window in March, but subsequent to the state releasing what was approved on their end, those products were not approved by the state of Florida. And so we are moving forward with the Cengage, which obviously was a first place tie. Teachers are happy about this. And recommending for purchase and requesting permission to purchase these 3 titles that line up with these 3 course codes. The price per student per year, just so everyone's edification, this is a 5-year adoption. So we'll be using these titles for 5 years, and that equates to $23.10 per student per year for the math for data and financial literacy and so on and so forth, which really, the price of textbooks we all know is high. Those of you that have had students that have gone to college, if you've gone to college yourself, getting this for $23 per student per year is really not so bad, but obviously when it adds up, there's quite a large expense. When you move on to the what we call the high school courses, which are Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, you can see that McGraw-Hill was the first place choice from our local reviewers. And of course, when the state releases their list, they are, this is the second time they've done it with math. They did it with ELA. They do give a ratings of standard alignment, but taking the guidance from the board on the 11th, where we had, multiple board members say that we can't always trust the state, or we should be listening to the teachers. I am proud that the teachers' first place was on the list for this, and so we are requesting permission and recommending for purchase the Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 products for McGraw-Hill's Reveal Math. For this price here at $23.91, we get all of the bulleted items there that are part of that package. Again, I feel that it is a pretty good price per student for their math instruction for the year. Moving on to the middle school, we had a tie from our teachers, community members, and parents from the rubric that we use at an 80%. What was interesting about both the McGraw-Hill and the Savas is that neither of those products were approved across all grade levels. You do have, 6th grade advanced, 7th grade advanced, pre-algebra, algebra 1 honors, algebra 2 geometry. Both of these two products did not make the list. We've not been told why, whether it was critical race theory, social emotional, or common core alignment. The department was not specific to that, but we have been given the word by both of those publishers that they are going to rectify those issues. However, we are recommending moving forward tonight. As we learned last year, we need to get the books in order as soon as possible for 6th and 7th grade with McGraw-Hill. We are holding off on a recommendation, or recommending at this time at least to hold off pending an appeal for the pre-algebra. We've been given word by McGraw-Hill they will comply with any requests or obligations from the Department of Education to get their product approved. And we think it's the right thing to do to wait for that. We did that with Amplify last year, so there's precedent with that, and very happy with the Amplify product. So going with the teacher's first choice, we think that it's worth waiting a few weeks for that to conclude. For the elementary school, our teachers really rated the Sebastian Vision product the highest, with Big Ideas a close second. However, this was the one that was, to most people's surprise, at this time there is only one elementary product that is approved by the state, and that's the STEM Scopes, which you can see on our bar graph here was rated the lowest by our teachers. Unlike the ELA, the department has released the grade levels in elementary school which were not approved, and for Savas it was really just that first grade. Their kindergarten, their second, their third, their fourth, their fifth, all those grade levels were fine, so there's something in first grade. And again, we haven't been given specifics on what that may be, but we have been given the commitment from Savas to correct whatever the department requires them to correct as soon as they are able to do so. And when you just look at the quality between the STEM Scopes and the Savas and see that's what our teachers recommend, and the community and parents as well, we think it's the best thing to do to not go with STEM Scopes, but wait until that is approved. So tonight, the recommendation is a request for approval is to purchase the 3 high school courses which are fully approved, the Algebra, Geometry, and Algebra 2, which are fully approved, and the 6th and 7th grade math, which are fully approved. And again, those have been through every phase of our required local review. Our reviewers reviewed them. They were available for public consumption for 20 days online and in the lobby. We had the openly noticed public hearing, and they were available for 30 days for a petition window, during which there were no petitions received for any of these products. So very thankful for the team for all their hard work over the past year to get this ready, to put us in a position, unlike most any other district in the state, where we are so far along with so many opportunities. I would say that with our process, it does leave so many options open to the board. This is simply the recommendation from staff, but obviously the other products that we adopted in January are also open to the board at this time, should there be a different recommendation and desire from the board. And with that,
That is the item, so just to be very specific, as Mr. Meyer referenced, you're only approving items through this, or books that are approved on the state list is also aligned with the committee. What we will do is work with the publishers and state and bring a item or an update in May for hopefully the purchase of the rest. And timing is of the essence. We want to have our books in the hands of teachers as soon as possible. So right now, this item allows us to purchase what we're able to purchase.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have to call for a motion
move
first.
approval
Okay.
to move forward with the district's recommendations for purchasing math books.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Barefoot? All right, board discussion. Who would like to speak?
I'll go ahead.
Dr. Jones, go ahead.
Just to be clear, Mr. Meyer and Dr. Moore, we're recommending all the books except those for elementary at this time, and then the 8th grade.
Pre-algebra.
also known as pre-algebra. Yes.
Pre-algebra, right, okay. And all these publishers have digital support online as far as what we're recommending thus far.
That's correct.
Okay, only question for now.
Okay, Dr. Schiff.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the hard work that went into this and the recommendations of teachers in particular, and that most of the recommendations of teachers were in fact supported on the state lists, with the exception of the elementary school books. For me, it is particularly important to make sure that we have books in the hands of teachers as soon as possible. And I don't want to go through what we went through last year, where teachers were starting the school year without books in hands. I would like to move this forward as quickly as possible to get the books in hands of teachers so that they can start working on them and being trained over the summer so they're ready to start the new year.
Okay, Mr. Barefoot?
I agree with what Dr. Schiff said. One question, just so I'm clear. If the 8th grade book that we prefer is approved by the state, right now it's not. Last year, did we not give you permission to move ahead should what you've recommended be approved, so we don't have to wait? If it happens in 2 weeks, we don't have to wait until the next board meeting for that approval? And I would offer the same question on the elementary books. In other words, contingent approval to what you recommend, assuming that they ultimately are approved by the state in the best interest of time and teachers.
Through the chair, that is what we did last year. This item is slightly different. It holds on the purchase of the elementary books as well as the 8th grade book. But you are correct. Last year, we did a provisional item that said, once approved, proceed.
And but you don't want to do that this year. That's
Through the chair, you can do that
You
if it
can
was an
amend,
item that was on the list, given the opportunity for the state to approve the books. So the answer is yes. That's not how this item was written.
all right, but it does not prevent a second
An
item
amendment to the
motion.
So could I amend my motion?
Not yet. We're in discussion. Please let every board member speak.
So at any rate, that's really in the form of a question, and if we're able to make that kind of an amendment, it would just facilitate getting books in hands of teachers, assuming they meet our criteria as well as the state's.
Ms. Rosario?
The reason why I think that this would pose a problem, Mr. Barefoot, is because we don't know what the DOE will approve in terms of if the publishers will make the changes that might be required of them to be approved. As of right now, there's only one, STEM Scopes, that's approved at the elementary school level. So we just don't know if the publishers will make, any of the changes that might be approved by the DOE in time for us to say, well, that would be an option for us. If that doesn't happen, then it seems STEM Scopes might be the only one that we would have no other choice but to move forward with. If none of the other publishers make any additions.
Through the chair, both of the publishers that are pending approval that are our teachers' highest picked have communicated to us they're more than willing to work with the state to make those corrections once they're
Okay.
told what they are.
Okay. I wanted to add to that, I want to thank obviously the teachers, the committee members who worked on this for our district, but also the citizens who worked really, really hard to get the message out that there were issues in these books and that the DOE agreed. The Department of Education noted the issues that were included in some of those books, and obviously, as we know, there were so many of them that were not approved. So I'm just grateful for that. With that being said, I think that's all I want to say on that issue.
Okay. I have a couple of comments. One, yeah, I agree, there were issues. I forwarded an email that one of our speakers tonight sent and pointed out to Jacob Oliva. But it was far more books than I had anticipated were pulled. I will say this, that last time when we did that item, we were under a little bit different time crunch. I believe that was later in the year, and we were beyond the deadline of ordering the books on time. So we're a little bit ahead of where we were last time. Not by too much, but a little bit ahead. I think we'd still be okay if we did this in May, correct?
Through the chair, I made that promise last year, and shame on me because we started the elementary school year without books. And there were some unforeseen issues, so I don't want to make that commitment because the reality is 67 districts are waiting on one specific grade level, which is elementary. So my initial response to your question is yes, we should be able to do that, but you know, if history is a predictor of the future, then ultimately we need to proceed with caution.
So the next question I have then is, we have a workshop, is it May 8th? Could we add that as an item? Do a special meeting for that on May 8th? If the board, or if the state comes across and changes?
Through the chair, at a workshop, we can discuss all day long, but as I think what you're referencing is, can we add a board meeting for that? I mean, absolutely, we could at the will of the board. We could definitely do that. I don't know if we're going to have that in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We just don't know. We anticipate this being relatively quick because we're literally talking in elementary, one grade level where all other grade levels were approved. In secondary, we're talking about one grade level, which is 8th grade regular, which the overlap of 8th grade regular and 7th grade advanced is extremely tight or similar. So we assume some of the corrections wouldn't be overwhelming for the companies. But once again, that's an assumption.
Okay, so, but I do know that the board chair can call a special meeting, or board members that want to get together and ask for a vote. So I have no problem calling for a special meeting on May 8th if that information comes to us. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Schiff.
Yeah, as Dr. Moore expressed, I am concerned because I was one of the people last year who was really worried that we'd make it in time and was assured that we would. And I feel very strongly I do not want to confront that again. I would prefer to amend my motion to move forward, to move approval with the district's recommendations and to give the superintendent leeway if our preferred books are approved before our next board meeting, that he has authority to move ahead with those preferred books.
Okay, so state
I
your
could probably
amendment,
phrase that
please.
better, but
State your amended motion then.
I tried to do that, I didn't do it very well. Move approval, I would like to move approval of the district's recommendation and allow the superintendent authority to move forward with our approved elementary school books and was it also the 8th grade, with also the 8th grade math book, pending approval if those books are approved by the state prior to our next board meeting. You want me to try and say that again?
No, I think we got it.
Second.
But the caveat is they have to be approved by the state. Okay, that's important to say. Thank you. All right, so a second on the amendment?
Dr. Jones, second.
Yes. Yep. Okay. All right, so we're just voting on the amendment now. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed.
Nay. All right. So it's passed 3-2 for the amendment. So going back to the original,
Discussion on that.
I'm sorry?
Discussion on the amendment.
Yes. So discussion on the amendment. Go ahead.
I was part of the advocacy committee with the FSBA on Friday, and those minutes should be available by tomorrow. But a lot of the questions from the board members on the call was dealing with the appeals, and especially at the elementary level. I think STEM Scopes was our 4th or 5th choice. I have taken a look at STEM Scopes and Savas, and although I was certified in math through 9th grade, I'm not an expert, but I did see a difference looking at how my grandson will be going into 1st grade next year. But I think it's very, very important, and again, a thank you to all the teachers and citizens who are on this committee, that we get the absolute best math book to teach the standards. And I looked at the alignments with the standards in the state. You know, the standards are just the beginning. This is what we need to teach. Then you go into the instructional delivery and the student engagement and look at everything. A lot goes into that. And if our teachers are in the classroom and they are the ones doing it day after day, and they understand what the desired outcome is with the standards, you know, we just must support them. We have to give them and our parents, our students, the best book we can give them to teach the standards. We're a little bit behind because of COVID, as all other districts seem to be, and in the nation. Let's do our best to give them the best resources we possibly can give them.
Okay, Dr. Schiff?
No, I've said my piece, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to the amendment?
I just think that we have plenty of time. We have time. We're not going to have the same situation as we had last year. Mr. Meyer would never have recommended for us to put on hold the elementary until at least next month if he didn't think that there was going to be a problem or an issue with reordering the books. Neither did Dr. Moore think it would be an issue. We don't know what will be approved. There were several other books that were approved that the committee actually did not review. And so we had that discussion. I'm still waiting for Mr. Meyer to return a response to me on that, why our committee did not review some of the books that the DOE approved. I think there were about 2 or 3 of them. And so we don't know if maybe some of those books may be approved. We don't know what will happen. Giving the approval, the pre-approval for the superintendent to make that decision now, I think is too premature. That decision falls on the board members to make. We're responsible for approving the curriculum in advance, and again, we just don't know which one will come to us. So I'm going to go with Mr. Meyer and Dr. Moore's original recommendation, to wait to hear from the publishers. I'm willing to come in for a special meeting if that's the case, but I'd rather just wait at this point.
So through the chair, just
Wait, I get to speak? No.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was answering her question.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did I have a question?
You asked a question, you're still waiting on an answer, so I'd like to give it to you.
Yes.
Ms. Rosario referenced some books that were not reviewed. So initial criteria in following up with the team looked at what books we wanted to fully review. So in that criteria was books that had a full stack of services. So if they didn't have a instructional or online component or a resource book for kids, it had to have a full slate of services for them to be reviewed. And that was part of the reason some books or materials who did not have all of the available resources or a comprehensive set didn't make it to the full review round.
To our full review round in our committee, but they were reviewed from the DOE as appropriate.
Through the chair, yeah, they reviewed them for standards alignment, yes.
So even though you're saying that we didn't have the full alignment, they did, so I don't understand.
No, I'm saying the committee looked at all of the textbooks that were provided or sent into us. They looked, the first round of looking at books said, you know, we're not going to look at this one. It doesn't even have an online component. That's not good enough for our kids, as an example. So there was a vetting process before you engaged in the full. There was a minimum expectation or a bar to get over in terms of what needed to be available in the suite of services or the suite of books that are being provided. And that was part of the criteria, majority of them not being instructionally, not having the online component.
Okay,
So,
wait, can I speak? No?
May speak.
Okay, thank you. The reason why I actually voted against the amendment is because you're voting for Savas, which was the number one, but my concern is if Savas doesn't get approved, now we're back to the drawing board again. So that's why I suggested perhaps we look at May 8th to call a special meeting for this. And at that point, yes, I think we should move forward because I don't want us to get into the weeds again on not having books.
Yeah.
And I think because I did speak to Mr. Meyer earlier about that, that's why the original recommendation was, you know, not at this time. So I think May 8th would still get us within that window. Yes, Dr. Schiff.
yeah, so thank you for clarifying that. And the amendment specifically states as per approval of the state.
Exactly.
So I'm getting a little confused between it's approved by the state, it's approved by the community, it's approved by the state but not by the community. The state has obviously done a review on the community's concerns. At some point, we either accept the state's recommendations and we move forward, but we can't keep going back and forth. So in the amendment specifically says giving the superintendent authority to move forward with state-approved books. So if Savas isn't approved, well, then there was a second choice. And if that's approved, we move with the second choice. If none of those are approved, then we come back and we have another meeting to discuss then how to move forward, if none of those were on our first choice approved list. And I would support doing that. But if the books that have already been reviewed by the teachers and the community are ultimately approved by the state, I'd like to give him the authority to move forward as soon as possible so we don't run into delays.
Okay.
And I'd like to clarify where we are on the voting. We voted on the amendment, but not the original motion. and
Right, we haven't
where
voted
are
on the
that.
original motion. We're still in discussion on the amendment. I got that part down.
But the amendment passed, so wouldn't we be voting,
Right.
we would vote on the amendment?
But we can discuss it before the vote.
Correct. And then we have to go back, but
I'd like to call the question.
Okay,
awesome.
all right. She called the question. So we're going to vote on the original motion, which the original motion was to vote on the recommendation that Mr. Meyer gave in the beginning. Mr. Meyer, would you repeat that, please?
I think Molly has a.
Excuse
go
me, Chairwoman. Since we have the amendment in front of us, what we would need to vote on first is the motion as amended.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And then
So
if
the
that
motion-
fails, you could vote on
Okay,
the
thank you. So we vote
first
first on the motion that is amended, which the amendment, please repeat. You're stating that Savas or his first choice, or he
What's
could
your
go down the
amendment?
line. That's what I'm concerned about. That's why I wanted
First
to know what the
choice.
amendment was.
Repeat your amendment.
Okay, hold on. The superintendent has a.
My understanding of what you said is the authority to select the first choice Savas in the 8th grade curriculum only if it is approved by the state.
Right.
I don't think I would be willing to say, I'll go down the pecking order. I'm willing to say go with the first choice
Okay.
if in fact it
Yes.
is approved.
Okay, so just 8th grade?
Well, the 8th grade
And
is
the
the
elementary.
only book that is not
And the elementary.
in the elementary.
That's
yes.
not, that's
Because the
not-
only
we're
problem-
getting, we're having, I called the question, we should just vote. What was the amendment, and let's just stick with the amendment.
Mrs. Rosario, respectfully, we're trying to get clarity on the amendment.
Yeah, but we keep adding, and her amendment
We're
was
not.
simply.
We're not
No,
adding.
we're not.
Okay.
Her amendment was simply the first choice.
Dr. Schiff, could you please explain?
The amendment was to allow the superintendent the authority to move forward with the 8th grade math book and the elementary school books as, if they are approved by the state.
Which books? The first choice?
The first choice, superintendent, would you prefer the first or the first and the second?
First.
The first choice book for elementary and for 8th grade math, pending approval by the state, and that he has authority to move forward with those.
Okay, for clarity, that is Savas for elementary and Savas for 8th grade. McGraw-Hill. You said Savas for 8th grade, so that's what I wrote down. Okay, McGraw-Hill, 8th grade, and Savas for elementary. Nothing else, just those two choices, correct?
In addition to the recommendations for all the other books.
Okay, I want to be
Yes.
very clear on what the amendment is. So if those get
Choice.
approved by the state, then we're looking at voting for McGraw-Hill, 8th grade, Savas Elementary, and all the others as
Correct.
written in the original motion. Okay, thank you. So we have the question call. Let's vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, so it passes 4-1 for those first choices only. Okay, moving on to 9A, personnel, and even though Ms. Rosario moved this item, it is your original item, so go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry, we have a speaker for that. Okay, Mr. Kenny.
As you know, we work with nonprofits here in the school district. I'm a little concerned because there's people that are basically directly or indirectly for a particular campaign in this race that are also with nonprofits, it seems to be. It's a matter of ethical positioning to me, and I'm a little concerned by it. And where the hires that you're going to talk about are concerned, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that nonprofits help, but a 501c3 is not to be involved in political campaigns. And so I just ask the board to be very concerned about this. It's a matter of ethics and legality. And I just wanted to present my concerns as you move forward in these 3 hires. I think it's for Moonshot. I yield back.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. The item is the request for approval for personnel recommendation. There are, as just referenced, job descriptions ultimately would be approved by the board. There are no individuals being placed in those positions tonight. These are positions that will work in the creation in year 1 to provide additional professional development for identified schools, teachers, principals, and staff around K-1-2 literacy initiatives. Also involved in this work would be the creation of a lab school. We will go into a deep planning process on creating a hub for professional learning. This is positions that are being funded by the Learning Alliance. There is, in terms of other things that were mentioned, this is 100% positions that will be hired, staffed by the school district to create a early learning initiative partnership so we can provide world-class education in K-1 and 2, ultimately ensuring that students by 3rd grade are in fact level 3 or above. That is the item as presented.
Okay. Could I get a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Okay, Ms.
Second.
Rosario? Dr. Jones? Any discussion?
Well, yeah, I suppose now would be a good time, or do you want to just do discussion on that and then me?
She pulled the item.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for that. Board members, on April 11th, we had a discussion about this particular item, and it was consensus of the board that we gave the message to the superintendent, well received, to amend the job descriptions to include language that would be very clear that these were moonshot school positions or to be moonshot directed, essentially, using the language of the Learning Alliance to create a moonshot school to be opened, not this year coming, but the following year in 2023. My concern on April 11th was that this position was too premature, that we were putting the cart before the horse by approving positions without actually having any information, business plan or opening or Even Mrs. Barenborg mentioned a progression plan to the opening of the school, or which school it will be, when it will be, how much will it cost us to rebrand a school, to open a new school, all of those different nuances that happen when you are planning in this particular way to collaborate with the Learning Alliance, which is a wonderful opportunity for kids, but we don't have that. We haven't been given that. That is our responsibility to engage in those discussions before. And then part of that conversation on April 11th was also about changing the language, because my concern, as the board consensus agreed, was that these positions just seem too generic, and that these positions don't actually speak specifically to the goal of creating a moonshot school. That these positions, should the superintendent no longer be here, could be used for anything, because much of the language says that they are for district-wide purposes, not specific to the moonshot school to be open next year. So the superintendent then said that he would take our recommendations and then he would make those changes to these job descriptions. I do want to emphasize, though, the wonderful collaboration that we have, the private-public partnerships that we have, and that, you know, the creation of these accelerated learning positions really are an effort to raise early learning literacy, which is all well and good, except we're putting the cart before the horse. On April 18th, the superintendent sent us all an email that said that he, as a result of the workshop, made some additions.
Yeah, but she pulled the item to discuss, so it's 10 minutes.
Yes, this isn't a new.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that. Some additions have been made to job descriptions for the Moonshot Acceleration team. But as I looked at the descriptions, and board members, you all received that email, there were some highlighted. I did a cross-reference of the original from April 11th and then the one on April 18th that was just sent to us. There's no change. They're exactly the same language. There is absolutely no change. Nothing shows any difference from April 11th until now. If they are indeed the Moonshot Acceleration, even the titles should say Moonshot Acceleration or Job Goal for Moonshot Acceleration or something like that. So the highlighted areas that the superintendent provided for us there is no change. What I'm going to ask today is for the superintendent to go back and just change what we asked on April 11th and bring it back to us. We have plenty of time for this. This isn't a rush item, and then we can discuss it at that point.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members like to speak? Dr. Jones.
Again, a thank you to Learning Alliance and MCAN for all the support they have given to us in our private-public partnership. Dr. Moore, could you just review for us and our citizens, what's the goal of the Moonshot School? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And yes, we are planning this year. We're not jumping into it.
Through the chair, we have very ambitious goals through our district strategic plan. The volume of work and support that is needed to really enhance teacher development and support is an all-hands-on-deck approach. My mind goes back to the student who was advocating for her teachers literally 45 minutes ago. And one of the best ways that we can do that is to provide job-embedded support for them. This is the opportunity to do that. Additionally, we have referenced in some of the problem solving that led to the creation of these positions is teacher retention, and allowing us to place teachers when selected at a Moonshot school or provide support through the Moonshot positions, that front-loaded support for a teacher over the course of their first year. That is crucial. If we are the district that solves the retention problem through ongoing daily support through this new initiative, we will see drastic changes. In terms of the job descriptions itself, these are positions that will remain under my direction 100% of the time. It is a partnership, very similar to a number of other positions that are funded from a number of different of organizations. We clearly define the work that is being done, but all of the positions in the school district of Indian River County will answer to me and our district strategic plan. We won't have different voices. The partnership that we have with the Learning Alliance is extremely strong. So we did make modifications or changes to the board. That is my recommendation. My recommendation stands before the board. The item now belongs to the board. So if there are changes or modifications that the board desires to make, I work at the will of the board. I will make those.
Just to continue, I think that's very well said when you talk about teacher retention. I've said this in a couple workshops, but in 1975, 33% of American graduates were in education. We had that, there are many reasons for that. Now it's less than 10%. Now, if you look at these job descriptions, which I have, would you change anything as far as what we wanted to do as our goals?
Through the chair, no.
It's under you, okay. I'm just looking at them, and I've looked at them carefully. Would you want to change anything? Because you look at the one job goal, to assist school leadership teams in accelerating the educational outcomes of all students. And again, is this any cost to the district?
100% funded through the Learning Alliance, all benefits and everything.
And obviously, you've talked to your cabinet and so forth, assistant superintendent and everybody else, elementary and secondary. These job descriptions fulfill what you want to accomplish in a moonshot school, and has the moonshot school been selected yet?
Through the chair, these positions do allow us to accomplish what we've collectively agreed upon, and no, we have not selected a school.
Okay, that's all my questions right now.
Dr. Schiff?
I don't have anything to add. I'm ready to vote.
Mr. Baird?
The only question that I would have, because the qualifications, the job description, all of the detail isn't going to change. The only thing Mrs. Rosario questions is in the title, where it says Director Institutional Acceleration and Coaching, the first one. If you had Director Moonshot Academy Instructional Acceleration and Coaching, that basically addresses the question.
Mm-hmm.
So we can right now just add the word moonshot into both these job descriptions in the title, not change anything, qualifications, and that should satisfy the concern that Mrs. Rosario's expressed about this position ending up being focused in a different area than what is intended.
Okay, so Ms. Rosario, would you like to amend the motion?
I would like to amend the motion to add, okay, let me back up a second. Let me respond to Mr. Barefoot. Mr. Barefoot, yes and no. You're right about the title. The title should have something about moonshot. But I was also talking about the job description, because part of the discussion on April 11th was that there would be a district-wide, using these positions district-wide, this is what Dr. Moore said, in year one, and then in year two, they would actually be in the moonshot school. So district-wide in year one would be a part of the planning and teaching and developing and professional development district-wide, including creating some of those structures to build a moonshot school. In year two, they would actually be in the moonshot school. That was the discussion that we had on April 11th. So those descriptions are not included in the job description or even in the goal. So you're partly correct, Mr. Barefoot. In his email said that he made additions to the descriptions for the moonshot acceleration team. So rather than say moonshot, going back to your suggestion on title, moonshot, I think moonshot acceleration team in the title, or adding moonshot acceleration Moonshot Acceleration Coaching or Moonshot Acceleration Team, something like that, that would be more appropriate. So there are two parts. It's title and job description, if that makes sense.
So why don't you
I can do that. I can, okay.
amend the motion?
Okay.
Because I think you're being very specific, which
Yeah.
is fine. I
Yeah.
think that this is not inconsistent, as I understand it, with what the objective is in the first place.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to amend my first motion. Should I
You wanna
just
remove your
withdraw it?
first-
Yeah.
withdraw your first
I
motion.
withdraw my first motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to withdraw my first motion, or just withdraw it.
Just withdraw it.
Just withdraw it.
Hold on,
Um,
who was the second? The second has to withdraw too.
Who,
I think it
this,
was,
the
Mr.
second
Barefoot.
was Dr. Jones.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Jones, would you like to withdraw?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to make a
New motion?
new motion to add to these job titles Moonshot Acceleration Team and to the job description an explanation of the purpose of these positions to be district-wide in year one and in year two specific to the Moonshot School.
Do you have that? Okay.
Can you repeat that?
Adding to the titles Moonshot Acceleration Team and adding a description indicating that these positions would be used for district-wide purposes in year one, and in year two, they would be specific to the Moonshot School.
So,
So,
looking at the two job descriptions, the first being a director, the second being a coordinator, right? If right after the
And there's another one, there's an instructional specialist.
All right, right after the title, right, you put after the comma, Moonshot, Instructional Acceleration and Coaching. You're adding the word moonshot after the comma between whatever the three are.
Specialist and instructional.
That takes care of the title. That's very simple. You're adding two words. Now, your other, which to me clarifies, your initial concern. The second part, I'm ambivalent to the second part. If you can concisely come up with words that address your second point as to year one and year two, then
Because I'm just going by what was explained to us on April 11th. On April 11th, we were told these would be positions that would be used in year one for district-wide purposes and to create the structures for the opening of a Moonshot School. And then these positions would be specific in year two and following to the Moonshot School.
you're really adding a timeline.
yeah, can I weigh in here, Madam Chair?
Well, she's making, first of all, she's making an amended motion, so we need to let her finish her amended motion. And then we need to get a second, and then we can discuss the amended motion, sorry. That's the Roberts rules, I'm sticking to it. All right,
Well,
are you done with your amendment?
I think so.
Okay, can I get a second?
Are you
Can I
done?
get a second?
I will second it.
Okay. All righty, so, now that we're in discussion, Dr. Schiff.
thank you. What happens if for some reason there is not a Moonshot School in year two? So we've created a description that makes a specification about what we can do in year one and what we can do in year two, and what we have seen, if anything, from the last 2 years is life doesn't go according to plan. So I am concerned that we are putting something in here about some future eventuality that may or may not happen, and I would like to keep it simple. I don't object, as Mr. Barefoot says, to putting it in the title, but once we start saying what's gonna happen in year one and what's gonna happen in year two and three and four, we don't know that. And if we need to come back and amend it, I'm happy to do that. But at the moment, I am not willing to predict the future. So,
Okay, anyone else in discussion?
Mayor?
Yes.
If you're okay with it coming back to us to amend it, the job description, then if we're not gonna have a Moonshot School in year two, then amend the job description.
But why don't we just have the job description for, we're moving forward right now to hire the positions, and if there's a moonshot school and these positions transfer to that school, then they do.
Yeah.
But we don't need to figure out what's gonna happen 2 years from now, when what we need to hire is a position for now.
Well, this is the issue. This is part of the issue, which you're partly right. We're putting the cart before the horse without the plan as to the plan of opening a moonshot school. Why are we approving positions before school is even open? I get it.
Because
I'm
right
with
now,
you.
the
I'm
district
with
can
you
use
on
those
that.
positions.
I'm with you on that. We're on the same page with that. But based on what was presented to the Learning Alliance and to community members a couple of months ago or several months ago, and based on what was presented to us on April 11th, there will be a moonshot school, so we have to move forward with assuming that there will be. And these positions are being brought to us. It was presented to us as a district-wide year one and other purposes, or for the moonshot school in year two. So we need to stick with what was given to us. We were told that these positions, as far as it is written in on what is before us, would have the changes that we discussed on April 11th, and they don't. So now we're here discussing what those changes should be.
Yes, Dr. Jones.
Just listening to everyone, I'm okay with the title, but I think getting into the detail in the job description could change. So, hopefully we go through this year coming up and we have these people and we begin the process. And then hopefully the next year we'll have a moonshot school with the support of the Learning Alliance at MCAN to help us and our teachers. But I don't want to get too much into the weed, but I'm okay with the title.
Okay, Mr. Barefoot?
Well, I'm fine with the title, too. I personally think that's enough specificity. The problem is coming up with wording to address, year one, year two, that Mrs. Rosario is troubled by. The worst-case scenario is that we hire somebody. In year two, we don't move forward with the Moonshot Academy. That person may be out of a job, and/or the superintendent may come to us and want to reassign that person to some other initiative within the framework of Dr. Meyer's word or Ms. Emerson's world or what have you. We can always react to change. I mean, that's, if the world's not changing, there's probably something wrong. But I always am reluctant to try and reach so much specificity that you hamstrung the staff, Dr. Moore and his team. Because I think it's very hard to be that specific, because you can put the words in there, but they don't mean anything. Because if in fact at the end of year one we don't go forward with Moonshot for some unknown reason, what have we accomplished? I mean, the superintendent's still going to have to deal with an individual who's got a job that's just been eliminated, in theory, and either that person's going to have to leave, or Dr. Moore and his team will come up with a place where that person's expertise can be put to work elsewhere. This happens all the time, not about all the
So why don't
time,
we
but
vote
not
on-
infrequently.
Why don't we vote on the amendment? It will either pass or fall, and then we can.
We're
have
still in
another motion.
discussion. I'm gonna say
Okay.
something, if that's okay. Item number 23 on a job description is like when you're a principal and you're looking at it, that's like one of the things you look at the most, and that is perform other tasks as assigned. And that kind of opens up the door to, yes, that person might have a job shift or change depending on in the duties. I think if we put in year one and year two, and I'm looking at it as a perspective of somebody that might apply for this job. And when you look at it and it says Moonshot, well, that's kind of cool. I might be interested in that. When you go to the interview, that's when the information comes out about the year one, year two, and things like that. So I tend to agree with you, Mr. Barefoot, that it needs to be more open-ended to be able to get as many applicants as possible to look at something like this. And then in that discussion during an interview is probably when that year one, year two stuff comes out. Also, this discussion about Moonshot has come out with a lot of rumors on campuses about what's happening with Moonshot, and is it gonna happen immediately? Are we gonna, change a school starting in August? So I want to really push that out there, that we're not doing this haphazardly. We're gonna take our time. That's why these positions are gonna be here for a year. And I think, just like when you're opening a new school, and I went through that when I was down in St. Lucie, there were a lot of new schools that were being opened. They hired the principal a year ahead, and that principal actually picked out everything for that school and hired everybody, because it takes a full year to get a school, a brand-new school implemented. So just like with this program, it's gonna take a full year to do it right. And I think that putting Moonshot on there, I really like that, because I think it designates that this is what this position is going to be doing. And then working with Dr. Moore's team to design that needed structure for the school. So I'm fine with moving forward with the title. I don't think we need to add the year 1, year 2, because I think that's gonna come out eventually during an interview process. Okay? Anyone else like to add to the discussion? Okay, so we have an amended motion.
So I want to clarify, though, the amendment was for both the title and the year 1 and 2.
Correct. Are you fine with your amendment, Mrs. Rosario?
Yeah, I'm fine with my
Okay.
amendment. I mean, any board member can make another motion to amend the amendment.
That's true. Anyone like to amend the
I'm
amendment?
okay with mine.
Just
I'm
threw it out
just
there.
sticking
If we do
with
that, we
mine.
get super complicated. We could vote on the amendment, and then it will either pass,
Okay.
or we can have a different one if it doesn't pass.
We could, but board members have a right, if they want to make an amendment to the amendment, they
Go
can do
for it.
that.
Absolutely, go
Okay.
for it.
Anybody like to amend the amendment?
I'll be happy to amend the amendment.
Okay, go for it. I'm
Change-
on it.
Change the title, that after the commas and the 3 job descriptions, to add the word moonshot.
Okay, so the first one we're voting on is the amendment to the amendment. Correct?
No.
Okay. I'm going to get a second in a second, but I just want to clarify.
That is correct.
Okay, so can I get a second on the amendment to the amendment?
I just made that?
You made that, so I need a
Oh,
second.
okay. I'm-
Second.
Okay, Dr. Jones. All right, so I'm going to call for the vote on the amendment to the amendment. Do we agree to amend the amendment? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, so the amendment to the amendment passed 4-1. So now I'm going to go back to the amendment. The amendment was to go with Moonshot and then the year 1, year 2, correct?
But I don't, I think the amendment to the amendment takes care of what I originally done.
But we still have to vote on it. It's
Yeah, we
Robert's
still do
rules.
have to vote on it, I believe.
So here, what we had was, we had a motion by Ms. Rosario with a second by Ms. Jones, which then was withdrawn by Ms. Rosario and Ms. Jones, and a new motion was made by Ms. Rosario and seconded by Mr. Barefoot. And then what we had was a request to amend that new motion, which was made by Mr. Barefoot, and was
Seconded by,
that, wait, we haven't seconded that yet, have we?
we had a second by
That's-
Dr. Jones.
Oh, seconded by Dr. Jones, thank
On
you.
it.
And so,
We just voted 4-1 to pass the amended amendment.
say it's an amendment to a new motion. So what you would need to do now, if you would like to, is to vote on that amendment that Mr. Barefoot has proposed.
Yeah,
We just did.
4-1.
Okay, but then what you would vote on is whether to pass the motion as amended, and then that takes care of everything that you
That's what
had
I
before
figured.
you.
That erases the rest of it, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So we're going to vote on the amendment as amended. Okay, so the motion as amended to the amendment, that is what we're voting on. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. So that takes care of the whole vote, and it passes 4-1. Okay, then.
So did we pass just
Yes.
changing the title?
Yes.
And the rest died?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the rest dies. Okay. Where are we on this? Let me get back to the actual action items. So we are now to action item A, Student Code of Conduct Handbook effective for 2022 to 2023. Dr. Moore.
This is the opportunity to move the item for public hearing, to review and adopt the Code of Conduct. That is item 13A as it stands before the board.
Okay, so prior to calling for a vote on the item, I need to confirm that there are no citizen input requests for this item. If there are citizen input requests, they are called on to speak at this time.
We have verified we do not have any additional speakers on this item, ma'am.
Okay, so because we don't have that, this item deals with adoption of revisions to the Code of Student Conduct Handbook for 2022, 2023 school year. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. We're now in recess. This meeting is to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. The public is invited to address the issue at this time. Is there any individual that would like to speak to this motion? Actually, it's not a motion. To speak to this public hearing for adoption for revisions to the Code of Student Conduct? Seeing none, I conclude that the announced public hearing on the adoption of revisions to the Code of Student Conduct Handbook for 2022-2023 has been conducted pursuant to notice and that ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. Board meeting is reconvened at this time. I'd like to call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That was Dr. Schiff?
Jones.
Oh, for the first?
Yes, so moved. Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Okay. All right. And now for discussion. Any discussion, board members, on the Student Code of Conduct?
I just had a question.
Yes.
It might lead into a discussion, I'm not sure, but it's not to, it's a question with regard to the new bill, House Bill 7, that was just passed. There are some items in the Code of Conduct, Dr. Moore, that some circles, and it has not been, because there's so many moving parts and it's so fluid at this point. House Bill 7 does not go into effect until, I believe, July. So we still have a little bit of time before we get there, but there are some items in the Code of Conduct that are considered part of the no wake bill or the no indoctrination. And one of those is restorative justice or restorative practices that are written within our Code of Conduct. So the closer that we get to that date, I just wanted to plant a seed of concern with regard to that as it appears within it. It doesn't appear in our Code of Conduct, just to be clear now, as restorative justice. It does appear as restorative practice. But I just want to be, I want to be sure that as the conversations move forward with this, that we are fully aligned with the law and that we allow for some of these controversial issues that might be interpreted as that we would address it before the July implementation so that we're not going into next year with a Code of Conduct that might have something that is actually prohibited.
We will be fully compliant with the law, but you are correct.
Thank
We'll
you.
review.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anybody
Well,
else?
I just want to say thank you to all those who served on the Code of Conduct. It's a lot of work, takes a lot of time. Thank you to Ms. Dampier and her department for leading this and taking input from all of our parents and obviously being in accordance with the law and supporting our students.
Anyone else? Good? Okay. I'd like to call for the vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes 5-0. Okay, we are action item B. That got already dealt with, so we are good. Superintendent's report is done. We are moving on to discussion. There are no items, correct?
I added an item.
Oh, yes, you did. Sorry about that. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's been 3 hours. Could we take a 5-minute break,
Yes, we
please?
can. It is 8:31. We'll reconvene at 8:36. Remember when we were talking in our workshop that the only reason why we gave ourselves the 10 minutes at the initial is so that every board member has an opportunity to speak before one board member goes on and on. Is that correct? Okay. So Ms. Rosario, at this time,
not
we're
my-
going to start with 10 minutes, and then we're going to let somebody else speak, and then we'll come back to that. If you'd like to bring that up as an item to discuss at the next board meeting, we can do that.
Yeah, well, you just asked, is that right, board members? And to my recollection, no, that was only supposed to be for action items, where you initially present something during an action item, and you explain why you want the board members to vote in favor of whatever you are initially presenting. A discussion is not an initial presentation of something. A discussion is a discussion. It's a talk. It is a point of which we will say, you know, how was your day? You know, that's discussion.
Sure, but my
Back and
point is, I
forth.
think 10 minutes is enough for one board member to speak at a time, and then another board member gets an opportunity to respond, and then you can speak again, okay?
I hear you, but
Okay.
what I'm saying is I disagree with your initial point that that was for discussion.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So the reason why I put this on for discussion is because on March 4th, Dr. Moore emailed all board members with a message that read, after deliberating with our school board attorney, we both have come to the conclusion that it would be beneficial to share the attached policy with board members during our upcoming individual meetings. Both Ms. Shattuck and I will be available to discuss this policy with you. Please take the time to review prior to our meetings. That policy that was sent to all board members was policy 0124. It is titled Standards of Ethical Conduct for Board Members. This occurred, the reason why Dr. Moore sent this to us, it occurred because a board member complained or had a concern to the superintendent and the attorney that I, board member Jacqueline Rosario, had violated this ethics policy by posting on my personal Facebook page my personal thoughts on items that were previously voted on. This post was clearly stated with a disclaimer that these views were my personal views and did not reflect the views of the board corporate. I was clear about that. My post adheres to this policy, even though a board member unknown had a concern about that. However, this isn't the case for other board members who indeed have violated this policy. In this policy, it very clearly states on section C3, section B1, that district staff members, administrators, and officials, board members are the officials, distinguish between personal views and those of the district. We have another policy, 0122.1, that expresses the powers of the board in the same fashion. We have another policy, 0149.1. It is titled Public Expressions of Board Members. And in part, it reads, board members should, when writing or speaking on school matters to the media, legislators, or other officials, make it clear that their views do not necessarily reflect the views of the board or of their colleagues on the board. We have a conflict of interest policy that reads the same similar language, that there should not be a misuse of the language or the message that board members send out, especially espousing or getting involved in political campaigns and so on and so forth. You can read that yourself. Standards of Boardsmanship, policy 0123, states that we should also be careful on how we communicate. The hypocrisy is thick, but I am sure that it will be ignored. We may not even need to get into a discussion about it unless you feel that it would be appropriate. The citizens of this great county deserve to know that the views posted by Dr. Peggy Jones and Dr. Mara Schiff in recent TC Palm letters to the editor do not reflect the views of this board corporate. As this board did not discuss or approve those posts were their individual views alone, and they did not reflect, nor do they reflect, our district's views as a whole. I needed to make sure that that is clearly stated to the public, because it is under the impression that those views are the views of the district as a whole or this board corporate. They are not. Neither were there any disclaimers in those posts, as there should be. So I just ask board members, you are free, according to your First Amendment right, to share anything that you would like in the public. However, please follow the policies that we have. If you want to share your personal views, make sure you put a disclaimer, as I do, that these are your personal views and they do not reflect the board corporate. Thank you.
Okay. Board members, would anybody like to partake in the discussion?
Just a couple things. Looking at our protocols, during board business meetings, each school board member has the right to initially present an item for up to 10 minutes. Following the initial presentation of the item, each board member may initially comment on the topic for up to 3 minutes. The discussion will continue round-robin fashion. It doesn't say it's an action item. It says for any time we present. Now, if we need to talk about that a little bit more, but I think the intent there was start out with 10 minutes and then everybody participate. As far as my letter to the editor, I stand by it. I signed my name. I put in there that I was a school board member. That is my First Amendment right. As far as a disclaimer, I don't do social media. I don't do Facebook. I don't put anything on there. Any email that I send obviously is public record, and I understand that. I don't reply all to my emails in case there is an issue regarding an action item on that later, but I stand by what I said. I do have a right to personally express that. I've been a member of this community for 42 years, just like we have a right to talk about anything after citizen input. What I was going to say on citizen input today is I want to thank the people for coming in. Everything was said very professionally, very kind, and had some good items that were presented. But as far as saying that I'm ethically wrong on that, I take offense to that. I take offense that I can't write something without someone saying just because they disagree, I'm wrong, and I will continue to do so. As far as a disclaimer, I put in there that I was a school board member. I didn't put at the end, Peggy Jones is a member of the Indian River County School Board. I'll continue later.
Okay. Dr. Schiff?
I mean, really pretty much ditto. As does Dr. Jones, I have every right to express myself. I do not think I made any ethics violation. I stand by what I said. I did not purport to represent the board. It's not a post on social media, so I would distinguish between a published article and a post. But I don't feel a need to engage deeply in this conversation. So.
Okay. Mr. Barefoot?
Nothing to add.
I have nothing to add.
May I respond?
Yes.
I'm going to ask Ms. Shattuck to weigh in on this, please. Policy 0149.1, board members should, when writing or speaking on school matters to the media, legislatures, or other officials, make it clear that their views do not necessarily reflect the views of the board or of their colleagues on the board. What is your recommendation when board members want to post something in the, TC Palm as a letter to the editor in this fashion? You're familiar with one. There was another one that was posted yesterday or today. So what are you may not have seen the one from today, but it was very similar to the other one. There was no disclaimer in there. It was signed by a board member, and it said, the person's title as school board member. Please, what is your legal opinion on that?
To the chair, so my recommendation is I think the policy speaks for itself. I don't think I have anything to add to it.
Should we write disclaimers if we're writing our own personal opinions? Maybe I should be clear on my questioning.
To the chair, I think that, the policy, again, I think is clear, just that if they think that there is a reason why it may be misinterpreted, then I think that it needs to be made clear. It's up to each individual board member, and not just board members, but as you mentioned in the policy, it applies to all staff members to do that themselves, and just whenever they are making public statements, if they think that there could be ambiguity, then it's up to them to make that clarification. Thank you.
So in a previous conversation you and I had about my Facebook post, you very clearly said that there should be a disclaimer that clearly identifies my personal view from the school board view. And now it sounds like you're saying something different. Now you're saying that it should be up to individual board members to make that decision.
To the chair, my recollection is just that I said that you had done a good job of making it clear that what you were expressing was your personal opinion. I don't recall anything other than saying that what you did complied with policy. Thank you.
Okay, so I think legally, it would be good to hear a legal advice to save board members. If we have all of these policies that say that we're supposed to be clear on what our personal views are versus what the board corporate believes, I'm not hearing advice on how to distinguish that. How else would you advise board members, all of us, to distinguish in the public or in the media any posts or any newspaper articles or any published anything that would distinguish our personal views from the school board corporate?
Thank you, through the chair. I believe that I've been very clear, as you mentioned to begin with. The superintendent and I have provided the policies to the board. We've had conversations with individual board members. It's, my responsibility to provide legal advice and guidance. I think that I've done that. I don't think that I have anything else to add. I think I'm just being circular at this point.
Well, I would disagree. I don't believe that you're giving any legal advice. I think that the question being asked is how can they distinguish? And you're not answering that question. But I'll leave it at that. Discussion, Madam Chair, is over.
Okay. Anyone else like to add anything? Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Rosario. So we are done with the discussion. Superintendent's report we have finished. School board member matters. Who would like to go first?
I have something. I gotta find it. Go first, Mara.
Mr. Barefoot, would you like to go first?
I don't think.
The only thing that I would mention is the last Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting. The discussion continued about the number of meetings regarding visioning. Down the road, they were a lot of very good ideas came out of it. Staff is working on many of these things. I believe there's still going to be a couple of more of these community input sessions. I can't tell you that there's any more specificity in that, but the conversation's going on. But the really good part of it is the number of people in the aggregate. And I forget, there's been at least 3 where you've had as many as few as 30-some and as many as close to 100 show up at these discussions. And I think one of the questions is, particularly as the community as the county expands west, dealing with some of the infrastructure challenges, those get raised. Continue to talk about bicyclists and their concern about safety. And in many of these locations where there is concern, particularly from those that have to ride. I mean, we've talked about the bridges and the difficulty in making them more bicycle-friendly. But that's really all I can add.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Shipp.
Yeah. Thank you for that Mr. Barefoot, a very, very dear friend of mine was just within the last 2 weeks involved in a horrific bike accident. And he's fighting for his life in the hospital now and has been so thank you for raising that. I really appreciate that.
There
It's
are a
been,
lot of people, actually a friend of mine was killed up there
Yeah.
around Windsor on A1A when somebody wasn't paying attention and he went out for a ride on a rainy day. He was supposed to be playing golf and got wiped out and killed.
Yeah, by whatever grace there is, my friend is still fighting in the hospital, and it was in Sebastian, it wasn't, I don't know the exact circumstances, but he flipped over, he was thrown over the back of a truck, so thank you for raising that. On to more delightful news. Many of us have attended in the last couple of weeks events at the high school celebrating our scholars, our high-achieving students, our students who are taking home thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship opportunities, and it's actually been really delightful to witness and celebrate those students as they go on to make their mark in the world. And I'm excited for them, and I'm excited, as we experienced here tonight, this was a really lovely celebration of all of those students, and I'm looking forward to the graduations that will be coming up the next couple of weeks. Well, next month or so, not weeks. That's all I got.
Dr. Jones.
Special thank you to Dr. Moore, Kristen Maddox, Judy Smith, Nancy Esplin, Deb Long, and Peggy Poisel for a wonderful event tonight with all of our academic signing, and then for Jaden, and just bringing our former valedictorian from Vero Beach High School here and seeing all the people who were here with us and celebrating him. Just thank you. It was very, very special. This happened a little while ago, but I always want to give kudos to the Vero Beach Band for the Red, White, and Blue concert. My husband and I attended. He is a veteran, and it was just absolutely phenomenal, and I want to thank them for doing that. As Dr. Schiff said, academic and scholarship nights have been absolutely fantastic. I've been to a Few More Faces campaign with MCAN at the library and at Miss Flood, Principal Flood's pre-K center earlier this week, and they are continuing to show how early learning literacy is key in helping our students get ready for kindergarten. Jackie Robinson Day, thank you, Mr. Seymour and Dr. Moore for being there. We had over 200 elementary students there, and they were in the new Jackie Robinson Center, and it was a lot of fun. ESC Parent Advisory meeting is always wonderful. Ms. Dampier, Ms. Moray is doing a great job, and I love the engagement of the parents. I just listened, but and what we saw tonight with our proclamation for autism, I mean, that's what we're all about. We are continuing in regional finals for both Vero Beach and Sebastian, and I went to the lacrosse game Vero the other night. I know we've got some track students going from Vero and Sebastian to regional, so good luck to them. And again, always thanking our teachers, our administrators, our support staff, our district staff for what you do every day for our students here in the public school system.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rosario.
There were so many events going on at the high schools, of course, with our seniors, celebrating our seniors, the scholarships and the awards that seniors have received is just phenomenal. One of the nights that occurred at both high schools was the evening in which they recognized a teacher that really had an impact on them throughout their student career. And every time I attend those events, I'm always very touched by it. So those have taken place within the last month. So many things happen when we meet, you know, a month and wait. It's almost as if you got to keep track of all of these different events. We'd probably be here much longer than we are right now explaining it. One of those was an MPO meeting that they shared their final draft of their visioning report. The visioning report introduces larger issues such as urban growth and expansion in our town. And one of the things that, I shared this with Dr. Moore, one of the things that they mentioned were a strip of land out by past 95 on Route 60. So you know where there are open fields, lands going towards Yeehaw Junction. And what they were doing at the time was taking in feedback on how they can be flexible with the land that they have. What?
Oh, she's giving my pen back.
Be flexible with the land that they have and kind of recode it according to the voices that were in the room. And one of those suggestions that I had was, could any of that land be recoded for a school? What if we opened up a school and had an ag tech program or animal husbandry connected, combined, an ag tech / animal husbandry dual enrollment program where everybody is right there. And the idea just kind of, it's always been a vision of mine to do that. It's an area that I think we're lacking here in Indian River County. We have a lot of kids who participate in 4-H, and you know, if you've ever been to the fair, you know there's a lot of involvement with the kids, raising pigs and chickens and rabbits and citrus plants and all that other kind of stuff. But we don't have a niche for them. We don't have a place for those students to actually learn this, for those who want to actually get into this area as they move forward in their student careers. Well, long story short, it was very well received from the people in the room, so I thought, let me bring it up to the superintendent and see what he thought. And it was well received from him too. So board members, it wasn't something that was planned, but maybe we can engage with the superintendent in future conversations towards this goal. At some point, maybe Dr. Moore can put together what that might look like. I mean, it's not very easy to have that discussion and say, okay, yes, let's just do it. I know there's land to purchase, there's building permits, there's how much is it going to cost, and I know that it's a long dream to do, but I just wanted to share with you all how that conversation went. Hopefully one day we can definitely move in that direction. Let's see. I did want to mention Ms. Pippin. I want to mention Moms for Liberty for something that she mentioned with regard to the donation of the books. I want to say thank you to Moms for Liberty for that, because apart from some of the concerns that have come in from yourself on behalf of Moms for Liberty, I thought that 60 donation of books, brand new books, that didn't have any of these controversial issues, was really proactive. It was a solution-driven, collaborative effort, and I hope that the school district appreciates that effort for you to donate these books to the schools. And I think your email said for elementary schools. So I wanted to thank Moms for Liberty for that. I also would like the superintendent, something else that was mentioned earlier, to keep an eye and an ear out with Mr. Meyer on some of the things that Ms. Pippin mentioned earlier, which is very concerning, that we have one surgical tech book in our entire school district in the libraries, but we have 32 books on prostitution, one on welding, but we have 144 books on rape. If we are going to be a school district that really engages children in their academics, in their technical, vocational training programs, in their reading and math and science and social studies, in some of these core areas to be standards-driven, I think our libraries need to mirror a standards-driven approach. That we do not have more of these obscene content that we do of an academically challenged approach. With that being said, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I too attended the Red, White, and Blue concert, and for years I tried to get a ticket to that, and for years it was sold out. Then COVID hit, and I was a board member. I couldn't go, but I finally got to go, and wow, that was an amazing concert. It really was. It was so nice to see so many veterans there. The other thing is the track meet from Bill Wilson Track Meet. I know that some of the elementary schools actually got together and had their own little post-track meet this last week. Vero Beach Elementary, North County Charter, and there was one other. It was Imagine. And so they had their own get-together. Because of that, they enjoyed doing that. So I thought that was really creative that they did that. So shout out to those teachers that put that together and principals. So I attend planning and zoning. We've had a lot of meetings because there's so much building going on. What was it told to me yesterday? 5,500 applications for new building just in the last couple of months. So it's crazy. One thing that came up in that was they brought the visioning presentation to the planning and zoning group first, and then they brought it to MPO. And when it came to us, I kind of was on the similar path that you were on. I said, you know, we got to think about, they were talking about saving land for green space, which I think is very important, but also saving land for schools that could potentially be out west. We got to do that. Land for bus depots, you got to think about that. And sidewalks was another thing that I brought up. So I appreciate kind of the same thinking on that. With that thinking, one idea I had was to bring back something that Mrs. Zork had given to us a couple years ago, which was an intergovernment meeting. And we actually had a meeting here in the TEC with the city of Vero Beach and the county and the city of Sebastian. I think all the cities, Orchid was here, or they were invited. And we had a kind of a all discussion with all those intergovernmental groups to discuss, back then it was insurance. But what I'd like to kind of put forward is maybe we'd like to do that again. I could set that up. And we talk about two things. One, workforce housing, and another one is the visioning project and how it would reflect on and kind of incorporate schools and your idea about 4-H and things like that. So that would be an opportunity for them to hear from us about what our ideas are before things start to move on that visioning project. Would board members like to do that?
I would love to do that, but I would definitely like to include the, what is that the construction, what is that group? I forget.
Builders Association?
Yes, the Builders Association.
Well, then you need to
There are
include
some
Realtors Association too.
Oh, yeah, why
Okay.
not?
So I'll look
It
at,
doesn't have to be 10 people, I mean, just one or two representatives from that.
Okay.
It was a very, may I continue? For those that weren't here.
I was here in the district when that happened.
Yeah, when we had that, Mrs. Jones, I mean, Dr. Jones and Mr. Barefoot, it was a very, very large event. I mean, you know, a lot of people showed up, and it was actually really, really interesting. We shared ideas and what was actually being implemented in their organization in terms of, as Mrs. Berenborg said, insurance, health insurance, and all the other, you know, ways that they provide services to their employees. And so we just kind of had this powwow of best practices and what are you doing and what are you doing and how is that working and how is that not working. And it wasn't like we came out of there with a plan to do anything different, but it was nice to have everybody on the same page and in the same room so that we can get another opportunity to meet each other face to face. So I would be all on board with that, for sure.
other board members, you
Yeah,
okay
I
with
think
that?
it's-
If I try to throw something out there, I'll contact the other different, the mayors and the,
And maybe we could have some collaboration on what the agenda looks like with some other members. And
Yep.
I was here in the district when that was happening, yeah.
okay, so we'll look at trying to do something for that. The other thing, I'm not done with my,
Yeah.
my members
No, go
matter.
ahead.
The other thing I noticed that the faces went on the library.
Yes.
I know I
I
had
was
sit-down
there.
conversations with several of the county commissioners, and I was waiting for that item to come up on the county commission, and all of a sudden I saw the faces on the library today or yesterday, so
Yeah,
I
we
was
did that
really
about a
excited
week
to
ago.
see that. So that's moving, all the faces projects, and we'll see it more and more buildings in town. The question I had at my last item is to ask the superintendent, is there or do we need to have a policy for donating books to our schools?
Through the chair, but we can do a review of procedures to see, or policies to see if we currently have none, but as we create this new policy, it would be part of the same review and acceptance process.
Okay.
But
Okay,
Mr. Meyer
So-
responded to that, Madam Chair.
Well, Mr. Meyer works for me, and
Mr.
he'll respond.
Yeah, but I'm just sharing, in the email, Mr. Meyer said that we did not currently have a policy for receiving book donations. But I'm sure, Dr. Moore, if you can look through that, I'm sure that there's something on I mean, it's just a donation. Why do we have to wait for the new creation of a new policy when we currently have
Yeah.
how
So
schools take donations
I asked in
in?
the item, so all I asked is, could you look at whether or not donations of books, if there's something already in place, can we go ahead and do that, or follow through with it, or does it need to come back to us for a policy change?
That's what I will do.
Okay. All right, anything else for the good of the board?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
yes.
Oh,
I wanted to
okay.
just, for this intergovernmental meeting, I just wanted to throw out, I don't know how everybody else is in May, but my May is incredibly busy.
Oh, I wasn't thinking May.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right. With that, then, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:07.
Thank you.